Welcome everybody to MogTalk. Today is May 29th, 2021. This is MogTalk episode, what is it, 231 now, 231. And today we're going to be talking about the new Baja content, where we go into the new area, Zadnor. But before we go too much into this discussion, I want you guys to know who is on the show. So let me go clockwise here, starting with Balana. Balana, tell everybody who you are.
Hi, I'm Balana. I've been on the show a few times before, including the last Baja segment, which we had everybody else on as well. I've been involved in endgame scene of the game for a long time. Used to run Elysium, the free company, when that was a thing, and I locked myself in Zadnor for like the whole last of the week, just grinding my face off. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're still, you're still like a little low.
A little low. There's nothing I can do for you, Frosty. I'm
well,
sorry.
move your mic. Move your mic. Like, try that.
Right there. You just
that's
get it in
good.
There?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
All right. We in there.
All right. So, yeah, Balana, long time. Set of Nice is on the way, dude. Been on the show like 20 times. Yeah. Shipping's bad right now, man. Shipping's bad.
You got stuck in the Suez Canal.
Yeah. But let's continue here. Our next guest, of course, one of our actual newer regulars, has been on like a ton of shows since we've restarted and revived MogTalk last year. Ren, tell everybody who you are.
He just loves me for my voice. I'm Ren. I'm a raider, but for the past couple of days, I've been locked in this awesome side content that everybody should do called Zadnor. Doing our duels, grinding our face off, playing warrior a whole bunch, and I heard that I might be doing some racing this week. Yeah,
you are going to be doing some racing, some long forgotten content, the ancient archives of the most famous Chocobo racing of the Final Fantasy series and its rumored existence within Final Fantasy XIV.
The literal from Savage Raiding to Chocobo racing.
Yeah.
Oh, with Fallen. And then deep sea fishing to finish off the expansion.
All right. Let's introduce our next guest. Zheph, could you introduce yourself here for me?
Sure. I'm Zheph. Tank main, Paladin main. Interested in difficult content, so obviously drawn to the 1v1s and Savage and Ultimate, and apparently also Chocobo racing.
Yeah. I made it a point that everybody that was on this show was invited to that Chocobo race this weekend. Or not this weekend, but this Thursday. But Balana said, can't do it.
Hey, I got a burning crusade to take care of, okay?
Burning
He's gonna
something,
play content
man.
that came out 20 years ago.
Gotta get in there all over again.
Gotta get that world first.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, guys, we're going to be talking about the new content here. I do want to start this off and be completely obvious. As I told a lot of people in the last month or so, I do have a new job that has been taking up a lot of my time, and this last week has taken up quite a bit of it. So unfortunately, my experience with Zadnor is kind of low, so some of my questions may seem a little bit clueless, but that's why we have 3 of the fucking best experts doing this content out here to talk about it. So before we get started too deep, let's hit the basics of it. Let's just get a quick review. Zadnor as the next level of Baja, are you guys kind of content with it? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, it's all right,
If you were looking to be done with it quickly for your relic, sure, goes by real quick.
No.
If you're looking for the extra content in there, you're going to get a mixed bag, whether you want to do things scrupulously or legitimately, and depending on the job you want to play on.
Yeah. Okay. Zeph?
There's definitely a lot of people putting red hats on and going into Zadnor.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what? Explain that to me.
Something about red hats. Okay, go ahead, Balana.
They don't care.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Zeph, tell me your thoughts on it.
So satisfaction levels overall, honestly, probably a little bit lower for like the whole piece of content than the Southern Front. But I do like the 1v1s again this time around.
Okay. So 1v1s overall, I guess for all 3 of you, you guys have enjoyed. Well, I guess there's a lot to talk about with the 1v1s too.
And
There
enjoy
is
is a
things to talk
word
about.
in the arsenal of words that we have.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, like Zeph was mentioning, though. In some ways, it's a huge quality of life change. In other ways, the satisfaction is a lot lower. So it's like a tipping scale based
Okay.
on how you feel about it.
Okay.
But Lion
okay.
still scares me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right. Well, let's get into this. I do want you, before we start, you guys said one of the most important things to mention was the prestige system, which I don't know anything about, except for I've seen a couple of images. Tell me what the prestige system in this content is.
So basically, you grind up to 20 million metal, you get your resistance rank 25, and then they have a counselor in the camp, the resistance counselor that you go and you talk to, and you're like, "Hi, here you have a problem with grinding metal." And you're like, "Yes, I do." You're like, "Here you go, have a buff, go grind more metal."
Now do it again.
He's an
so
enabler.
Yeah,
Problem.
every 20 million metal you grind, so you do the whole grind over and over again. You get this stacking buff on you. You get to choose like 3 different ones, and each time you rank it up, it costs more and more to get. So you have to grind more and more and more to finally stack it all up. But it's the plus damage, plus health, and plus healing, and they
Okay.
go up to 10 stacks on each.
Has
And
it-
to do all that, it's an ultimate grind of 600 million metal.
Has anyone gotten close to that yet?
I think you have Balana. Well, you're more than
You have
halfway. aren't you?
HP, damage, and then healing. And healing's the one that people are going for last. But there are people who have
Yeah.
the first 2 capped. A lot of people.
Yeah, I'm at 10 damage and 8 HP, but I haven't touched it in like 24 hours at this point. I need to step away for a little bit.
That's fair.
That's fair enough. You went really hard on it, really
It's
early.
true.
Like,
Just, I like a good grind.
how much are these buffs? Is your damage pretty much doubled at this point, or?
It is. I heard 5% at first, but now people are saying it's 3% per stack of the damage. HP is 5% per stack, so you end up having like plus 50% health. I don't know about the healing. Nobody cares about it.
That is pretty like interesting why they would add healing in to the mix of everything. What use do you have with extra healing?
The
Like-
players that believe healing matters.
Apparently, 1 million HP potential tanks if you have full echo and full HP stacks.
Okay.
Yeah, I had 2 stacks of HP, and there was an echo. So now the instance duties and critical engagements will be scaled to echo if they have a small number of players in them. Like I did a solo the other night in a locked instance, and I went up against one of the duels. In the critical engagement, I was by myself. I had 700,000 HP with 2 HP stacks and boot up. And you start swinging for like 100,000 with your base GCD.
Now the tricky thing about the Echo is it doesn't scale your healing. So you've got people in your party with like almost 1 million health, and how are you going to heal that up? I guess that's what the healing stacks are for.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. If you take enough for it to matter.
Jeez.
There's always
alright.
Super Bowl.
Huh? Super Bowl?
There's always Super Bowl, yeah.
There's always
can
a new
take
action
off,
lost elixir.
1
Full
million
heal.
self damage.
Oh yeah, I guess that's like the biggest self damage you can possibly do in the game.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
But actually, getting the healing buff is kind of a DPS loss because of the buff limit, and each one of those 3 buffs takes up one of those slots. And if you go over the top, things start falling off. Like I don't know, monk forms and
Blood of the Dragon.
Svi had a ley lines whiff. Blood of the Dragon just fall off. The wheels really start falling off when you hit the buff cap in the game, and this is 3 more that they're piling on there.
You know what though? There is a title, right? The Emblazoned. Forgetting all of them, I believe.
Yep. That's like the only reason why I might keep going and get the actual healing ones.
Yeah.
Okay. For that title, you might use once and then just get rid of.
That title I will use nonce.
Just.
No, I gotta have my Brunhilder's cheese knife
Yes.
title on.
Oh.
That's
I think, by the way, your cam and voice is not completely matching up, Balana, so it's kind of funny to listen to you talk and see.
We're back to this again? Alright.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to go with it, We're just going to go with it.
Well, you don't realize Balana's a puppet master.
Yeah.
And that's actually
yeah,
his puppet.
He's
I'm just
yeah,
edgy.
new job. Okay. Well, one thing I do want to mention, was there still a lot of Beast stuff in this
Beast
new
Masters and a lot of Puppet Masters this time around.
Yeah.
There's Puppet Masters. Explain the Puppet Masters, because I don't know how that should look in the game.
So they just have like Archdemon summons
It's
that they're
Espers
fighting.
from
Yeah.
12.
They have you fight like Famfrit, they have Belias. Who else do we got in there?
Shemhazai.
Hashmal. Well, Hashmal's his own
Hashmal.
fight, right? Is a Puppet Master actually controlling that critical?
It's
I'm not too sure.
I think it's. Oh, is that the Pegaga fight?
No.
Might be. No, it's
Maybe.
not.
I don't know, but
One-
they're essentially they're controlling Espers, and you wail on them for a bit, and it's just like the Beastmasters, just a different name.
Okay. Because I was wondering if they're still
The
trying
JP
to heavy
communities-
hand hint. Go ahead, Balana. Sorry, I didn't. I heard. I did.
Oh,
I
I
saw
just-
your mouth move, and then I was like, he's about to say something, and so I was like, let me be quiet. 'Cause he's gonna.
I was just gonna say that there's a new Beastmaster NPC Pegaga that is actually really huge, getting really popular in the Japanese community.
Yep.
She does like a sticks her fingers in her mouth kind of emote, like a kind of thing like that, and
Yeah,
that's just
she's
getting
teasing the
plastered
hell out of us.
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, adding personality to the NPCs is always like a good thing to do, because then it makes people want to do the content more because they feel more like emotionally attached to it in some way, right? And so. I'm glad they're starting to bring some of these characters. I mean, maybe, I haven't done the story. So, by the way, this is going to be probably a lot of spoilers if you guys care about the story. Although I doubt Balana knows anything about the story.
I watch all the cutscenes in the game, but for Baj, I skipped all of them. 'Cause the boys wanted to go hard, so gotta
Okay.
make that sacrifice. I usually go back and do it on my alt, but I'm not doing this grind on my alt. Fuck that.
Yeah. I mean, do we
That's what
expect
the
to
field
see
notes
any
are
of these?
for.
That's true. That's true. Do you guys
They actually
expect...
they do give you a rundown on everything that has happened when you read their field notes, which is kind of cool.
Okay. Do we expect this content to persist in any shape or form, or is it done?
So Bulgarian Southern Front, I think, had a huge pull for people who didn't care about the content, in that they could make a lot of money off of the mounts and stuff that dropped from the lockboxes. This time around, I haven't seen anything worth note except for a like two rewards. Yeah, but you can buy those.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Lockboxes.
Not the side ponytail.
No, you can get what, the emote with gold coins and the mithril or something. One of those you can get from the exchange NPC. It's at the bottom.
Probably the emote.
What
then?
they added to the exchange NPC was the hair from Delubrum, the early to rise. There's still the unique to lockboxes are that emote that nobody wants, and the misty style, kind of like side ponytail hair.
Yep.
Okay. Well, what I meant really was, do we expect them to say, all right, next expansion, some of these characters are going to drag into other content, or some of these
yes.
Do we expect this content to go into the next expansion, or some other content in the future in somehow or way, or is it capped off, finished, we're done with this whole story?
I don't think we've seen the Lost of Gabranth, because Gabranth showed up in the Evilise raids, and then at the end here too. Because when you're finished with the story here, for spoilers for the people who do not care and didn't notice, I'm sure by now you know who Lion the Beast King is. He survives, and the commander who is in Bozja, we end up taking him down after he pilots Mecha Perfect Alexander. And, he goes to prison on behalf of the failure of the Fourth Legion. And since Gabranth and Fran and stuff already have ties in, and they also pulled in the NPCs from your ninja job quests, are in the Southern Front as well now, or they're in Zadnor. As well as Hien. Hien also gets his own field note section in there too. So I think we're going to end up seeing stuff if we go to Dalmasca or have any sort of ties with them. We'll probably see more of them.
Okay.
So, Rin, you said Lion survives, did you?
Lion survives. He goes to prison. First off, he gets pissed at Gabranth because he reports Menenius' death, and Gabranth goes, "That's all." And he goes, "What do you mean that's all?" And then Gabranth dismisses the soldiers around him. Is like, "You can't talk to me in front of them like that. I respect you, but you can't do that." And he's like, "Somebody has to pay for Menenius' failure," and he knew the sacrifice that his life was on the line if he failed. Like that's the cost. He accepted it. He did it. And Lion's like, because Lion like he's like the old dad, right? Like he's 68 years old. He cared about the kid, and so he's like, I assume you'll have no problems going to prison in his stead. And he goes, yeah, that's whatever. So maybe we'll even see him. Maybe we'll see him when we go to Garlemald, and then we'll unlock Beastmaster and limited job.
I go to prison and just like completely destroyed Garlemald. Like there's like,
but he's there in a cell.
Yeah, he's just in a prison. Like everything's broken around him, but he's like, yeah, I'm just doing my time. Zeph, what were you saying?
I'm sorry, Zeph. That's what you were alluding to.
I was actually going to allude to that. What if Lion does, like, if we do happen to get Beastmaster, what if he's the job trainer or the job mentor?
Also,
and
if you were
the
talking
jewels,
about escaped with him.
Gaga. Yeah, like they could be sort of leading into that, maybe the expansion after. Because if they're going to rework pet code, which I don't know if they're going to, but that would be a good opportunity to do it with those two.
So here's the thing. Either I don't think rework is really something we do anymore. It's delete and change.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So
that's what I mean. I don't think pet code is salvageable, but that's going on a big tangent.
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted my little information about the story, so I know what to care about with all that and everything. So that does make sense. It is funny because didn't Lion kind of just say, "All right, cool," and run away last time? And then he
came down to duel us for a bout of. He actually called it a bout of fisticuffs.
Oh, he actually, when you beat him, the text that goes on screen, because you don't kill him unlike the other ones, he seems to be taking a liking to us because we give him a good time every time.
Yeah, halfway through the duel, if you do the fight properly and you see like the 4 or 5 minute mark, he says a text where he's getting really bored, and then when you beat him, he's like, we're done with this bout of fisticuffs. I have to go, presumably into Zadnor, because then he shows up there and you fight him there, and he helps out Menenius. But he's kind of badass. It's like a mutual respect. It's like what I would want Xenos to be.
And I actually like him as a character just because I like his fight design. Like, I enjoy fighting him. I think they're really well designed fights, all the Lion ones.
Yep. Wait, you like Exabalus knockbacks?
Yeah. Oh, they also murder a lot of chocobos in this content, Frosty. So, yeah. One of the duel fates to spawn the duel actually sacrifices chocobos and turns them into servants. They're like shadowy servants.
Maybe this is like a precursor to something that might be happening in the future. They're just going to get rid of chocobo racing in Final Fantasy XIV.
And your information is limited on Boaster, right? But do you remember the Red Comet memes from last time?
Of course. No, I remember. I know the old content very well. Yeah.
There's a Red Comet 2 this time around.
Of course.
And the chocobo is actually named Red Comet.
Is it called Red comet 2?
Yeah. And
when
a choco kicks you, it hurts.
Why didn't they just do like Blue Comet or something and try to like change it up a little bit? I don't.
It's the same NPC. His name's Daguza the Shrewd. He's a little pigman guy. And he gets more chocobos. And this time he's like, I'm not trying to get more chocobos. I just want to kill you guys. And then he runs away.
The best part of that fate is bringing Reflect.
Yes.
And you have like 4 people Reflect all just stand in the meteor, and you just watch Red Chocobo just like delete itself.
Wow.
It's about 300,000 Reflect damage, I think, isn't it?
When you defeat him, he goes untargetable, and he's like, I'd like to keep fighting, but somebody's got to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And he leaves.
I remember reading that yesterday, actually.
Oh, I read something in chat that was funny. Is that they said Lions fight sexual, kind of like Xenos is.
Yeah.
It's like that. You know what? I kind of like that term. All right. So if I'm getting into this, let's just say I'm starting this today, and I want to get into this. What advice do you have into going in here and going through the content from someone who knows Baja originally but knows nothing about Zadnor?
Get a Netflix subscription.
Yeah. No, playing with friends, huge difference when you're playing with people. It makes the time go by really quickly. The fates spawn relatively fast this time around, but you're going to spend a long time doing it because you need to level many times over. Every time you're turning in, you're going to the council, you're like, look, I got an addiction. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, I could be doing worse things.
Right.
He's like, all right,
Well,
here you go. Have a damage
Is
up.
it just me, or are there fewer critical engagements this time around, or does it just feel like that because maybe they're more infrequent?
I believe people know how. People came into this content knowing how to spawn the duels, so I think they focused on that more, and so you saw fewer critical engagements from the ones that don't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, and to get some intel out there, how you actually spawn the critical engagements is each one is tied to a specific 4th Legion Magitech mob, and if you kill enough of that mob, then that CE will spawn. So if you want to like clog everything up, you can just go in and pull the entire circle of Magitechs and AoE them down, and then all the CEs will spawn. Or if there's a specific one you're targeting, like if you're going around trying to get the duels, then you can just like target those individual mobs, and eventually that CE will spawn.
Yep. And if you start noticing like a C spawn, then another one immediately, and there's a good chance that duel's gonna pop at the end of those.
Okay.
A good chance, but not guaranteed.
That's true.
All right, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm assuming that just is very straightforward. Hey, you did Baja, you understand this.
It's
So, like-
literally copy and pasted almost all the
Okay.
mechanics.
Yep.
If you
Okay.
did the Southern Front, you'll know exactly what's going on in Zadnor.
I mean, the fights themselves are kind of copied and pasted as well from other parts of the game. A lot of the mechanics.
Yeah, we get like Fenrir, we got the chicken wing guy
We got
from
pretty much
from
any of the
Conan.
Evil East raids.
All the Evilist raids are just like piled in there. A lot of references to Final Fantasy 12. It's a good time.
Okay.
There are some extra interesting combinations, like what's the time time stop one? Is that Bellius?
Yeah, Belias
I've
does
only
time
been-
stop.
I've only been in once, and it was a disaster. We went in on day one, and it was horrible. It's actually
like-
harder, quite a bit harder than the.
It will
24
help
man.
you become better at doing Start of War if you didn't go back and do the Southern Front version, because you'll at least be familiar with how the mechanics work.
Yeah.
It's my favorite way to do that CE. That's the one with like all the clocks on the ground and the time bombs
Yep.
and the dive bombs, right? You bring Reflect in, and you can reflect
You can
everything
reflect.
except the dive bombs.
Yes,
And
I've heard
what-
that since then.
When you reflect, you get a Vuln stack.
You still get
So you
still
can.
get-
I got up to like 12 Vuln stacks one of the time.
As long as you don't stop reflecting.
But you're
you'll be fine.
you're reflecting everything back on as long as you're not the
Does it-
tank.
Yeah.
Does it reflect extra damage?
I think once you have it hits for as hard
Probably?
as you're getting hit, because if you do like reflect farming on sprites and stuff like that, you put on the tank essence that makes you get chunked, and you go out there naked
The
with those
regular,
sprites.
Yeah. Or take
So-
your gear
Oh,
off.
really?
Yep.
So you could technically go into that boss. Like I guess he does have some raid wides, I think, that you can't reflect. But you can just get naked and stack up the stacks and just reflect monster hits onto him.
Yeah, but that one gets a lot of people because there's a time bomb mechanic where there's like a dial and it turns 6 times, and all people really need to know is that it's just going to hit behind where the arrow is. But people are trying to like figure it out, running all over the place and get hit, and there's also all this time eruption stuff going on, and it's pretty funny. But I think one of my favorite fates this time around, and I've gotten to kill it like once because it got scaled up. So there's 3 zones, and the number of players in the zone kind of scales the difficulty. So sometimes you'll see a fate die before you can get there because the NPCs that spawned with it are so overpowered because nobody was there when it spawned. But once I got to this other one, they finally... So they always like to recycle content. They recycled the diadem. They brought the Brontosaurus back, the meteor-loving guy. He's there. And it's really funny because it dies in like 3 seconds almost every single time.
Way too fast.
Yeah, the second zone is very transitionary. There's usually not people like hanging out there, so like when fates spawn, they usually stay really low scaled, and the giant Brano always, you just walk up to it, like hit him 3 times, and he falls over.
Yep.
There's also
I
one
think
fate that's like broken, I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell. We just call it the Unscaled. It's Rise of the Machines. It's near the third. It's in the third
you're
zone,
talking...
near the third waypoint. We call it the Unscaled. You just walk over there and you hit IR,
Yeah, they die.
and you can just kill them all instantly.
You get to hit IR? I don't even get to do that.
I
Yeah, Attack of the
think-
Machine spawns just south of where the Red Mage duel fate is.
I think I had it scaled up a single time yesterday because we did do it, and I finished my IR, and I'm like, oh, they're not dead yet. What's going on here?
There's also, so if you read the patch notes when the patch went up, it said during some critical engagements, there are environmental things that get destroyed that will persist after being destroyed. And it's so the first boss of the burn is this crystal scorpion, and it is literally that scorpion in the critical engagement. If you read the description, it says they went to the burn and took it.
Yoink.
And there are these AoEs you put out, and they're like these shadow things. So if you remember in the boss fight in the burn, you had to get behind a crystal to like dodge its AoE. And the same thing happens here too, but right before that, it targets players and puts AoE markers around them, and they can destroy them if they hit the needles. They're still there. You can hide behind them. It's just a graphical bug. I mean, it's a bug right now. It's not working as intended, but I tested it yesterday. I was just standing where they should have been, dodged it completely.
Nice.
I'm gonna try that, and I'm gonna die so fucking bad.
It's probably not 100% of the time, but it was funny.
I'm definitely trying it as well.
Yeah, but all around this has been a relatively enjoyable time, and I think largely in part to the fact that I was able to get through it so quickly. Because this kind of content you don't want to be in for a month, because it's just fates, right? You're just doing overworld fates like all the time.
Yeah, if you want to just go through and like do the story and do the new dungeon at the end of it, it was actually almost literally patch 5.55 hours of content for me and my group. Because we just like went in there and knocked everything
that's
over.
about how long it takes.
Yeah, done by like 10 in the morning or something, right? Well,
Yeah.
I guess like noon because the patch was delayed.
Yeah,
And then we had to wait for enough people to get leveled to spawn it.
It was like 5 hours and 39 minutes, so a little bit over 0.55, but close enough.
Okay. Who was the first to get it down?
EU team.
Probably
team
Kana-chan.
got
Did
it.
you run a race for it?
No.
Yeah, there was an EU team that went in with 7 people, I believe.
Which is faster than a full party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to suss out the mechanics. They're just thinking, okay, we only have 7 people. Let's just go in, see what happens. And then they get this absurd echo, and they cannot lose. They can't die, and they just beat everything. And they're like, well, okay, that happened.
I went in with an almost full party. Once people were leveled, we were like, oh, hey, let's organize. We'll get 24 people and we'll go in. And then some other people queued up in the instance because it's trying to get 48 people is a little hard to get into the same spot. And that was fine. And then later that night, I went in with 5 people, and the other 4 were new. They were just trying to do their quest. And there's a part where you split up. If you remember the old coils, you like split up into 2 corridors and lanes, and like in Delubrum too. And I was like, all right, you 4 go that way, and I'll go this way. And I just met them the whole way through because on Warrior you don't die. I popped a Bloodsucker, and I didn't even need to do that. You just don't die. You have so much echo. And you're hitting so hard, and Nascent will heal you for more than your full HP like every time. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the echo in there is just ridiculous. Like, we were gonna like group up and go in there, but like Svi's group, like they had it popped. Like, okay, let's go in and check it out. And they had like 11 people in there, and my group were like, okay, we'll just zone in, get ready, we'll check the vendors or whatever for a little bit. And we zone in, and it pops instantly right on top of us. Like, we'll hop in and take a look, see what's going on, see what the mechanics are, and we just killed it with 8 people.
Wow.
I think the echo was over-tuned. Like, echo's probably warranted for people doing it next expansion when there's not many people, but
Yeah.
feels a bit much.
What makes it
I think
especially broken is if the people you have in your group are like going sweaty and like using essences and actions.
Oh, yeah.
and just trying
Like
to pump
Flare
as hard
Star
as
and
they can.
like,
yeah, and that just turns into suddenly because we were basically had 6 times the stats with just one party instead of 6. So that just turned all these sweaty monsters into 6 times stronger, and just all the bosses just got knocked over.
We're just all Broly.
And the echo should not have been in there week 1. Like, I know I mean it's good for getting people like through the content because you could basically clear it with whoever queues up at this point. I think it's a hard minimum. No, you don't even need 4 people for the platform later on. There's no hard minimum.
You
can walk
need
in there with as
you
many
need 6 people to satisfy the those like blood pools at the beginning boss if they live long enough. With the echo, you're not going to see it, but like Sardavar and the boss down
I don't
below
think
do
I've
spawn
seen
them.
those.
So when I was doing Sardavar by myself, I didn't die, but I saw his mechanics. He actually does do the Phoenix dive bombs. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, those I've seen those come out.
But I did when I was by myself. But yeah, there's these like 6 pools that show up, and they just hit you for AoE damage if you failed them. And they give you a vuln, but the vulns in there fall off after a minute. So it's really not bad.
Oh yeah, those towers. There's
Yeah.
actually 8 of them. There's 4 in the middle, 4 on the outside. When we first went in there, we split 4 and 4 because we didn't know what the hell was going on, and they almost died because half those towers went off. Like we were sitting
down
up there, we
bottom?
had killed the boss, and we were. I was up top, and we were in like a separate channel because like, all right, we're gonna communicate with our teams and everything, and we're sitting up there like grinding, AOEing mobs for like minutes and minutes and minutes. We're like, what is going on down there? And suddenly everybody just gets like 6 Voln stacks down there. Like, whoa, that's not good.
So, is there anything like where you have to save prisoners within a time or anything like that?
No, but going back to save the old prisoners is easier than ever now with Lost Assassination. So now, Lost Death used to be the way to kill things before, and the lower HP, the higher the success rate. The same thing happens now with Lost Assassination, but I think the cooldown's shorter and it's free. And if you're a DPS with the proper action, you also get like a huge buff from it too, because you get Lost Content Power's effect.
Yeah.
So you're actually. So they kind of broke things a little bit. So let's talk about the skills a little bit, and I'll talk about the essence of the beast, and then I'll leave Balana to talk about the better one. Actually, wait, Zheph, are you familiar with Essence of the Beast? And
yes.
how the effect works? Okay, you talk about that. I want to talk about Blood Rage.
I'm not that familiar with it. I know it though.
Do you know how its effect works? So when you have Essence of the Beast, you have more defense and HP.
Yeah.
So you're surviving, and you also have lifesteal. The benefit this time around is there's an action, Lost Assassination, that when you use it, you get the effect of Lost Font of Power, and it lasts for 30 seconds. And Assassination has the 15-second cooldown, so you have it up 100% of the time, while being tanky, more tanky than a tank, and healing the entire time. So duels and any other content you're really doing, you're just really strong, and you have another action slot that you can take. It's very powerful. And then Balana, why don't you give the spiel on Caster, and then I'll cycle back to Blood Rage.
Well, we'd be skipping over Lost Folk here, which is actually a really cool action.
Go for it. I haven't used it yet.
I've used it a bit actually. It's really good with Breathtaker on. So Lost Folk here is a 3-minute cooldown healer action that does full HP, full MP to everybody in your party, and applies potion kits and ether kits to everybody.
That's really cool.
On top of that, if you have Breathtaker, it has the same effect on the potions and ether kits as if they had Breathtaker on, which means it only has a 10% chance to fall off when it procs. So
that's
transferable.
Before any like duel or before any CE, you just like pop that off, and everybody in your team is basically unkillable for however long those potions stay on.
That's pretty good for
auto
Deliverance Savage
as well.
What was that?
Yeah, because the auto potion would get 10% as well, right?
Yeah. But
is
you'd have
normally
to...
away? Breathtaker. Yeah, auto potion is also 10% with Breathtaker. I've only ever seen people doing it with ether kits, so I didn't even realize.
Yep. Breathtaker is
pretty
like
good.
The best essence. If you want to just get in there and grind metal, if you're trying to like level up or do stupid stuff like me, you bring Breathtaker, Impetus, and Reflect, and you just run around the zone, knocking out the Fates.
Yeah, if you ever have
Taker into the first duel and dodged that giant chariot AoE accidentally, the very first time I saw it.
Svi was doing some memes with Watcher and Chainspell, which we'll get into. And on the second duel, you need to like reflect something to kill these bits, because they'll just like keep hitting you for max damage unless you reflect and kill them. And he just like kept dodging over and over and over with Watcher on until his reflect fell off and he died.
Zheph, what were you saying, by the way? Zheph?
I do not recall anymore.
Because I keep hearing Zheph like say something real quick, and then like Ren and Zheph I think are on the same exact wavelength for something, and Ren's talking.
Yeah.
we share a lot of the same thoughts, I think, when it comes to this content.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
All right. So actually, I'll go over Blood Rage real quick, because I think the Caster one's an extended discussion, right? That one's going to take some time.
Yeah.
So tanks get this really cool little Christmas present like under the tree. It's called Lost Blood Rage, which is good but not as good as the others. So they get it's got a 3-minute recast. You get 1 stack immediately upon popping it, and you deal 15% extra damage. Every time you use a gap closer, you get another stack. At 4 stacks, you proc the true effect, which is 75% cooldown reduction, 75% recast reduction. So in a release, anything that isn't a charge. So intervene, plunge, and rough divide don't count. Gnashing Fang doesn't count either, but in a release does. Requiescat counts, fight or flight, etc. That's great. You get HP and MP regen as well, and you have 60% increased damage for 30 seconds. Now, you're like, great, cool. Every 3 minutes, it's going to be kind of nice. Except the effect stacks with itself. So you can Blood Rage, then re-slot a new Blood Rage onto the holster space, which is a new cooldown, so you can use it right away. Get your first Blood Rage's effect procced. And then when you use the new Blood Rage, the 3-minute cooldown is reduced by 75% to 45 seconds, meaning you could chain it every 45 seconds and use it for the rest of the fight. So now you have, let's take Warrior, you have an inner release every 22 seconds with 2 upheavals in every inner release window. And if your other action is like, let's say, Banner of Noble Ends, right? That's also a 22-second cooldown that you're using the entire time. Just
Plus
back to back to back.
damage if you're unaware.
Yeah. Plus 50% damage. You could either take HP drain or the lack of healing, depending on how comfortable you are in the fight. There's 2 different banners you can use, but those are really powerful, and you can start doing a lot of damage, but it's just nothing compared to what Balana's about to talk about.
I mean, does that sound intentional, by the way? Do you think that, like... Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I played the beta for Swords of Legends Online last weekend, and there is a dot that stacks with itself, procs a true effect, and then you can start stacking the dot again. That's where I got the idea initially from Reaper on there. And I was like, I wonder if this is going to happen. And then it did. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, all these other roles have something that's really strong and stackable, and tanks don't have something. That can't be true. They have to have at least something. Otherwise, what's the point? And like the DPS checks on the tanks have been fairly difficult, comparatively speaking, which again we'll get into in a moment, because the DPS checks are not a problem for the others at all. So I was just fiddling around, and day 1 tests were actually really expensive because Blood Rage is very rare. They were like 250k a pop for the fragment, and the fragment was not a 100% chance to get it. You had a chance to get a lost elixir, which gives you full MP and HP. So you're like, all right, great, I have this now. What am I going to do with it? But I was fortunate enough to have a couple of them to kind of like test the waters with, and that's how we discovered this. And then I put it out for people to hopefully feel somewhat okay on tank.
Okay.
But yeah,
okay.
so that's essentially how that's going to work. And if you want a tank, then Blood Rage is the way to go.
Gotcha. All right, so casters, I'm assuming this is in reference to those videos that I've been shown of duels dying in less than a minute.
Yeah. So the last 2 pieces of the puzzle that kind of fell into place to just completely break content in Baja. The first action is Lost Excellence, which every DPS can use. It's a 10-second hollowed ground, combined with a minute of 65% increased damage. So that's another big percentage buff.
Okay.
And then the final piece of the puzzle that fell in is Lost Chain Spell, which is a really, really cool spell. So it's a 30-second buff that increases your mana cost but makes everything instant cast, and increases your damage by 45%. It's also got 2 little interactions with the essences. With Essence of the Watcher, it lasts 90 seconds, and it has a 90-second cooldown. So you can play Black Mage like it's a machinist and just run around and turret and blast everything.
Nice.
But what's actually broken is when you combine it with Essence of the Ordained, the damage bonus on it becomes 100%. So if you know how damage calculations work in this game, any sort of like percentage buff to your damage are added together why can't I say that word? They're multiplied together. Multiplicatively. There we go. They're multiplied together instead of added together. So say you have a 100 potency ability, you put 100% on that, it's a 200 potency ability. You add 50% on that, it's a 300 potency ability. Even though it's only, another 50% buff, it's doing as much as that initial 100 did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people saw all these plus damage things you can stack together. And Square Enix was very kind enough to put a target dummy right next to the box in the main camp. So you can get into... So if what people are doing now is there's actually another ability that got added in Delubrum, in that patch, called Lost Flare Star. And Lost Flare Star is a 7,000 potency button. It's a minute-long dot that you can put on a boss. The way they tried to balance it is you can only have one person that can have it up on a boss. If somebody else comes over and Flare Stars your mob, it overwrites your Flare Star.
Okay.
So what people do, they get into the duel. You immediately hearth back to camp. You get in combat with the target dummy because a lot of these buffs you can only pop when you're in combat. But that doesn't matter. There's a dummy right there next to the box, and you just, as the timer is ticking down for the duel, you're just like going through the box, popping every buff you can on yourself. So you get 65% from Excellence, you get 100% from Chain Spell, you get 70 from Font, you get 50 from Banner, you get a Dancer on you to give you Technical Step and Finish and Devilment, and then you hit that Commence button right as everything's on you, and you walk up, you press Flare Star, and you delete the boss. It's
You have
so
to run around
ridiculously
for like
broken.
10 seconds.
Yeah. What's the highest dot you've seen? I think I've seen 680,000
That's up
on a
there. I don't
single
think.
dot tick, and it does that for a minute.
Yeah, so it chunks the boss for like 5 to 7% of its HP every 3 seconds. And you can press buttons on top of it too, and like Svi put a GIF out of his like Red Mage OGCDs hitting for like 300k, then 100k, then just like demolishing the boss.
Wow.
It's completely trivialized the duels. If you go back into the Southern Front and do this nonsense, they just like keel over in 10 seconds.
So I have a window right now where I can go do all the duels without
Exactly.
knowing
Oh, yeah,
anything,
yeah.
being completely no
You can
skill
do
or
that
anything.
forever.
Absolutely.
It's a little
That's
expensive.
what-
You need a little skill. You got to
I
step to
feel
your
like
left
they're going
at some
to
point.
fix this. I feel like this is unintended. I feel
Are they?
So,
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they'd fix
I think
it.
it's here to
They
stay.
didn't
honestly.
fix it before. People were using Flare Star in the old duels, just not to this extent.
See, even then, even in the Southern Front 1v1s, it was technically possible to speed kill them with the right actions, technically on day one. The difference back then was we didn't know. We didn't have the theory crafted rotations with the actions. We also didn't have the actions because you had to farm them, and or they had to be on the market board for you to buy. They didn't exist in week one, so the 1v1 challenge in the Southern Front played out a little bit differently because there was more of an expectation to be able to do all the mechanics.
I think it was a couple of things. There was an expectation to do the mechanics. It was also the first instance of Bosia, so you had a lot of people qualifying for these duels without the notoriety system that wasted the attempts. So you didn't even get to witness many prog pulls. So like us here right now, we're fortunate enough that we got respectively. I think we each had our own enrage or clear pulls on separate bosses right away. Right? I had Lion.
Last time,
you
we had
Shadowbringers
one each.
first, and
and I had Gabriel.
Yeah. So we were fortunate, but this time around, the notoriety system, which you were actually able, I stacked some notoriety before this came out, and it carried over from Southern Front into Zadnor, so I was just able to get into one right away. The notoriety system really makes things comfortable. And then sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna tag on to the notoriety system. It actually incentivizes you like grouping up to like a dual group, like get 2 or 3 buddies together. And you stagger your notoriety together. So like somebody's at 3, you're like, okay, you pick which duel are we gonna go spawn now, and then they get that one, and everybody else queues to it as well. And because they know they have lower notoriety, they're just gonna keep getting their stacks up.
That's
so you can
exactly
have
what I
like a
was
nice
gonna
little
touch on.
rotation with your friends.
That's what I've been doing as well. So like if someone's at 3 or 4, like I'm actually on 4 right now, unfortunately, but that means so I'm pretty much guaranteed for the next duel that I go for, which will be Lion. So any of my friends that would like to get their pity stacks going as well can just join with me for that, queue up, and just get a +1. So the next time they want one, they're more likely to get it as well.
Yeah, I think this system is really healthy in a lot of ways because first off, it promotes you to play with your friends. Secondly, you get your party bonus, which counts in the duel, so you get your 5% for everybody being on unique roles. And obviously the buffs, like Balana said, dance party. You're not going to get your standard step the whole time, but the opener you will.
As long as it's that one GCD, that's all that matters.
Yes, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But you get all of these things, and then you also get to be like this is exactly what I was doing with my friends. We each had a target we wanted to kill, and it was a different one. And then some people have the same one, and it's okay because you just queue up, and if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, you don't feel bad because you got something tangible towards the next one, which is great because then if you're by yourself the next time, you have a pretty good chance of getting in. And then the other thing too is when you're in a party, you can't put your own way markers down in fights, but somebody else in your party can. So you either have 2 choices. So in the second duel, there are now Frosty. Did you tank Alexander 6 Savage back in the day?
Yes,
with the 4 robots. Okay, you remember
actually
the part where there's-
no. I healed that.
Oh, well, you might remember the mechanic anyways. There's some mines that appear on the ground that you need to hit. and then there are some that you don't. The same thing happens here, but they all go invisible. Now, the big thing about this is that those mines actually persist until there's an indiscriminate cast later that removes them. But while things are happening, you have to remember where they are. So you have one of two options. Put a way marker down in each corner of the arena and kind of remember where they go, and you could type it in chat for yourself, or have a spotter that could throw a marker down on where they are. And that way you never have to worry about running into it. Because at some point, some of the mechanics might be like, oh shit, I had to move for this. Oh shit, there's a mine. Oh crap, now I'm doing less damage and I'm basically boned. And oh shit, this mechanic that was supposed to happen to me just didn't happen. It just fell off and I didn't get misdirected. But we could talk about that in a little bit.
Sure.
So having a party member spot you is really good. They get practice so that when they go in, they're ready for it too, and you get to learn mechanics. There's also like a stock mechanic, like in the door boss, where it stocked an element and released it later. There's a the same thing happens here, where it's going to stock an ammo, and then later it's either going to knock you back or it's going to blow a hole through your chest if you're near them. so those kinds of things with a party are just really nice, and there is that sense of camaraderie. And I've actually been getting a lot of comments when people are watching me play, and Zheph too, where they're like, wow, this is really cool watching all these people get together and just hyping each other up, because again, it's beneficial. It's just mutually beneficial. Whereas last time it felt a little more, Balana and Zheph, Balana, you pretty much played in a pre-made, right? When you were instance hopping for your duels in Southern Front. But I know Zheph and I had the we resorted a few times to getting locked instances, because it felt really cutthroat.
It was soul crushing. Not having notoriety back then, basically, there were two things about it. One, you never knew if you were actually going to get in if you were against other people, because it was pure RNG. What was the other thing?
Watching
you
somebody
intentionally try to make
dance.
other people mess up during the.
We would never Square Enix. We wouldn't do that.
No.
Frosty might. We would never.
Yeah, I guess so. No, yeah, but yeah, no, it was very.
By the way, they added an action that makes you want to never join a random party in those critical engagements for the duels. By the way, Lost Impetus, that gives you your sprint effect. What it does is it makes you dash forward 10 and then gives you sprint for 15 seconds or 10 seconds, right? And that's great for the Blood Rage thing I talked about earlier, because your intervene on Paladin doesn't get the reduced cast timer, and you have a certain timer that you have to trigger the effect in, so impetus counts as a stack. But it gives the effect of Swift to anybody in your party that is near you. So if you're about to dodge a mechanic like a run around the arena thing and you pop that, they might overshoot and get a bone stack.
Nice.
Or
I'm not saying to do this.
CE with a forced march.
There is a CE. I did that day one and people were freaking out. It was so funny. So there's a forced march into if you remember back in the Void Arc raids, there was a mechanic where you got a doom and you had to be hit by something to not die. Same thing as a cleanse in the middle here, but if you impetus people, they'll overshoot it completely.
I didn't know about that.
My god.
Yeah, I've almost walled it because I suddenly got an impetus from a party member, and like it makes you like on the Meninius duel, the Fenrir, whatever it is, you have to get behind the icicles, and I almost severely overshot because I suddenly got an impetus as I'm trying to inch myself behind it.
People started making like the effect off for Swift macros.
Oh, the macro? Yeah.
Find its every ability.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's nice to have notoriety now, because rather than pure RNG where you might never get in, now it's if you don't get it, it's like, well, I'm just closer to getting it next time. It doesn't feel so bad. And on top of that, I'm seeing, so in the Southern Front, I had only ever witnessed one single 1v1 win ever. Because almost every single person that went in was clueless or unprepared or just not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
This time I've seen 3 or 4 already, because the notoriety system is promoting those that actually want it, actually getting in.
And the
you
stars
have to,
align.
You have to grind up the repeated attempts.
The flame stars align all over the place.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I've seen a lot of failed attempts of people trying to caster cheese, and it's very clear they don't know how to play the class.
Oh, I saw a hilarious one last night. It was a red mage. He did the Lost Flare Star. Maybe not fully buffed. Maybe he didn't do it perfectly. He got Meninius down to about 20%, and the last 20% was him re-raising about 8 times to kill the boss. He was so far ahead, he was dying to almost every mechanic, and he's just slowly whittling him down until eventually he won, and he just re-raised the last 20% of the boss.
We watched a summoner do that. They didn't have mana wall. They were very clearly not expecting to get that far into the fight. And I also watched their flare stock fall off, not get reapplied, and they didn't. Is it try disaster? Is that what puts your dots up? That didn't happen either. And I'm like, just cast your dots.
Yeah.
And they're just running around with ruins, and I'm like, please press your. You could tell that people just studied the opener, right? And they expected it to die. But you do have to push other buttons too, because I do not think a fully buffed flare star could do 100% of the damage.
It can.
Can it?
Can?
It can.
I have not seen any of the people trying it do it all without pressing any other buttons.
We've had ones that do 160% of the boss's health, but that's like getting in the lab and like doing really dumb stuff.
Okay, so something like somebody who doesn't know the class is probably not going to execute.
Yeah.
So I really just can't see them not eventually making it to where you can't leave after the duel starts and you have to sit and wait through that time. I don't know. I feel like this is just way too... It's just deleting the content, right? It's like this was not their intention, 100%.
There's just so many other broken things.
Is it not?
This is just another one on the pile. Like this is.
You see other games too, though, right? Monster Hunter, USC speed kills. They'll kill things in like 20 seconds with sleep tech.
Well,
the expansion's over. Like,
I'm kind of okay with it, because it's similar to Eureka, where there's actually it's fun to have a playground like this where you can just do ridiculous things, and the devs have sort of like, you have your regular typical job balance everywhere else in the game, and then the devs have sort of created this as a playground where they just throw things at you. They just dump a bunch of toys at your feet and say, go crazy with these, like do whatever you want. We haven't balanced it, figure things out. So I think there are even things that the devs weren't aware were going to happen, because I don't think they necessarily put that much thought into it.
Like this one,
they just
were not expecting this.
This is
debug.
Oh,
do you want to discuss what happened there, Zeph, and our dilemma?
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah.
You and I both had a very... We were streaming when it happened, and we had a big dilemma with the people around the arena. You can go into that.
This happened to send off too.
On debug, I'm trying to think.
You have a re-raise, buddy? I'm sorry, on Hypertune debug. Your re-raiser proc? On Enrage?
Oh, yeah. So there is, when you get to Debog's Enrage, he just shoots you with a laser, and if you re-raise from that kill move, he doesn't do anything. He hasn't been coded to do anything after that, except for auto attacks, and so you just get a free win at that point, as long as you have enough damage to kill him in 20 minutes. But that's
ridiculous.
So that happened to me on my first time through. I didn't actually know it was going to happen. And then I was like, oh, what happens now? And I was told that it just goes forever. And my initial instinct was, I don't deserve this. I should just wall it. But then, like Rin said, you have all these people standing around that would benefit from the metal buff that you give them by killing the 1v1. And so I'm sort of torn between, do I just wall it now, or do I just finish it off for the benefit of everyone else? And obviously, I don't think people would be too happy if you cheated them out of the metal buff, so I finished it off, but I did resolve to go back.
You'd have a lot of angry people. Like, that was my dilemma in my head, was this is no longer about me. Because when it happened to me, I actually thought that I got hit by the cannon and I didn't dodge it, because it was at 0.6%. So I didn't see it live long enough to realize that Enrage had happened, and now it was just autoing. I just thought I got back up, hit like 3 GCDs, and it died.
Yeah.
And people were like, yeah, you enraged. And I went... Every other duel goes untargetable and kills you until you're dead, and this one didn't.
Mine was 29% when I hit that Enrage, because I thought it was a prog pull, because it was my first time in, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll do my best, get to the end, and then it was about 3 minutes of just hitting him to finish him off.
And those are melee attacks, by the way. If you walk away in your range, you do not get auto. He just looks at you. He's like, come here, please.
He stays in the middle. So, yeah, I was actually not too happy about that, because
You felt cheated.
Technically, I was cheated out of the feeling of accomplishment of doing it legitimately the first time. So the second time that I beat it, so I resolved. I didn't even go for the other 1v1s because I was so hung up on the fact that I didn't get a legitimate win on debug. So I went straight back. I worked out my DPS actions. I wanted to make sure that I would actually beat the Enrage the second time around. So I went back. I did it the next day. But I just felt less excited than I normally would because of what had happened previously. Because technically, I'd already been clean through all the mechanics. I just didn't have the damage. So it was sort of the same thing, just a little bit better on my part. And so the fact that I was able, and that so many people are able to beat it so long as you get through to the Enrage, as long as
I
you
saw
get
like
that.
7 or 8 people do it that way. Some
Yeah,
of them were
as long
happy
as you
about
get
it,
that
some of them
remix
weren't.
Yeah, it just you're robbed of the experience, I would say, of doing it for the first time.
Especially when when you're one of the first people doing it, right? Like you have a 5% enrage on Lion at first, Balana, right?
I didn't get to enrage online. I only got to him once, but Ara got to a 5% enrage.
Okay, it was Aura that got it. Right. So we're all just trying to survive. Like I took essence of I just took Bloodsucker my first time, right? Because I just wanted to survive and get a timeline, work it out, and then go in and kill it. So I mean 0.6 is pretty good, I think, and having the actions after is not bad, but like Zheph is saying, you're just maybe that's not what you care about. Maybe you just want the achievement, maybe you just want the metal buff. Who cares? But it does really feel bad for the people who are trying to just earn the right to have slain this beast, right? And the other thing about it too is I was thinking about this. I was like, what if? And this is probably unlikely, but they're pretty good at playtesting things and not releasing bugs in fights. So I was like, what if this is intentional and you could re-raise past the enrage of this one? Because the opposite happens in Lion. This Lion, you cannot re-raise more than once. You get a debuff preventing you from ever doing it again in the fight. So I was like, what if they balance the two? And like everybody needs to farm so much. At first, I was like, they wouldn't do this, but I'm like, everybody needs all this valor, fortitude, and succor. That what if this is an option to help people farm that up? I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. I want to give the devs the benefit of the doubt and think it wasn't an oversight.
I wanted to say
oversights happen.
If we get emergency maintenance on Monday, well, so when they release the bugs, right? When they release the bugs in like things that are still in the patch notes, this wasn't one of them.
They didn't know.
Looped on the enrage.
Maybe they've never died to the enrage. Maybe they've never re-raised on the enrage.
It's a weird thing to miss though, because
it is because the bosses are always untargetable, but this one isn't.
They're either untargetable or
go away.
They just repeat their kill move. And this time he just does it once. You re-raise, and then there's nothing coded after that. He's not instructed to do anything.
So I don't think this is intentional, but at the same time, too many things are out of place for it. It just seems really fucking weird.
Maybe they had like a new developer.
Now you choose your cheese, right? You're like, which cheese is tastier? The one where you raise at the end of the fight, or the one where you don't see any of the fight?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Flare Star, go burr.
I think
I got.
Go ahead.
I got into so when I had that happen to me, right? I got into a party with some friends later that night, and one of them goes, "So I heard you got a very legitimate debug kill," and I was like, "Ahaha!" And then he gets into the fight and enrages and kills it the same way, but he had to do like 30%. So he finishes it. I'm like, "That's a very legitimate kill. I'm proud of you." And then one of our other friends goes in an hour later and does the cheese, and we were like, "Dude, come on, we don't even feel bad about ours now."
Yeah, no.
When Sindoff had the re-raise on Enrage, and he killed the boss, and then reported himself right after.
yeah. I sent in a bug report too because like you gotta.
Yeah, just do the right thing. I mean, that's more to most people, but I have to imagine what my head's envisioning this. Square Enix, they're like, fuck, we gotta get Endwalker, we gotta get this stuff going, everything else. We got this one other patch. Hey, finish this up so you can start working on Endwalker. You know, get this, just get it done. We gotta move on to Endwalker. And so they're just like rushing and trying to get all this stuff.
Imagine if they delayed it.
Yeah, and they're like, we hired this new raid guy. All right, hey, we need you to practice. Go do debug here, and just like get that knocked out. And then like he misses one or two check marks on like the code or whatever he's doing, and he's like, okay, it looks good. And they're like, yeah, it looks good. Endwalker. And then that's
sure.
what's in my head.
All in all, though, I don't think it's that bad. And now that people have actions, and they weren't because you only got like 1 or 2 of them day one from the new content. I really don't think too many people will encounter that issue unless they're really bad and re-raise like 1,000,000 times.
I mean,
It's actually
In which case they're lucky, and you should go buy a lottery ticket if you re-raise that many times.
right.
It's ironic because when I was in there and I was the one that did the enraged cheese, I was unhappy about it. But every time I'm spectating and I see someone else do it, I'm happy about it because I get the buff, and I'm not the one that's I'm not the one that's not getting the satisfaction of a proper kill.
Should also mention that when a duel is completed, everybody near the duel will get a buff for an hour that's going to double your medal gain, which includes killing other duels. So if you go kill another duel yourself with that buff, you are going to get double the medal from that. It does not include the new Del Riata, so don't go in there while you have your buff. We tried it and we're poorly disappointed.
Okay. So
Nothing quite
let's
like
talk
getting
about
6 million medal from a duel.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the duels legitimately. So if we were gonna do the duels, and you guys, Ren's done all 3 legitimately, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I don't know Balana. You're a Flare Star master
I've
here.
cheesed the fuck out of all of them. Day 1, day 2, I was like learning them, I was progging them, and then this video comes out of Japan of this guy like killing the boss in 2 minutes, and we're like, I'm just gonna do that.
I was tempted. Let me tell you. But you know what? You're already playing the job that does it, and
it's okay.
From what I've
then,
seen
right?
from Pugs, it's actually hard to execute. Not everybody can do it. So
I did mess up once, and I didn't hit Q in time, so I burned like 300k worth of actions.
oh, no.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about these 1v1s, because in the Southern Front, for the most part, the DPS checks were tuned such that as long as you had your essence, you could pretty much just kill it with a regular rotation. Like, you sort of had to have 1 or 2 defensives, depending on the mechanics that the boss had, but you pretty much could just play your vanilla style of your job.
I think Lost Focus,
beat
Lost
it.
Slash was all we did back then with Martialist
Yeah,
up,
but
and
this,
you just did the
I mean,
opener
I
with
did
the
it.
room.
I did it on Paladin, and I used nothing but an essence. This time around, I opted for Warrior because it's easier to fit a 10-second IR window in amongst mechanics compared to Paladin's 40-second buff time, basically. The thing about when you're setting up for one of these duels is... So I enraged on Debog at 29%, and that was pretty far off. And so I realized I have to start thinking about offensive actions, which is a good thing, I think, because this content is supposed to encourage you to use actions and try and supplement your DPS. But the thing is, you have 2 minutes to prepare, and now there is this whole checklist you have to go through. Previously, I would sit there, I'd sort of psych myself up for 2 minutes, I'd just check and double check that I had everything I needed, then I'd go in, maybe I'd take a moment to gather myself, and then I'd pull. Now, you have a 2-minute timer that's ticking immediately. You have to start using actions at the right time, and the moment you go in, if you want to make use of your buffs, you have to pull straight away. So you're
If
under
you're by
a lot of
yourself,
pressure.
your like protect and everything also takes up pretty much all the
Yeah,
time.
you have to do that yourself. You have to self buff. So you don't really have time to collect your thoughts or gather yourself. It's sort of like the moment you're accepted, it's go time. And it's because of the way that, like Balana said, you have the dummy there, you have the lockbox, you're just sort of swapping everything out, like just throwing everything on you can, and then you're going. It would be nice, I think, if you could do that inside the instance, just so you didn't have to rush so much. Because there's a lot of pressure when you get in there, and I actually completely fumbled my opener when I went into Lion. I didn't do it correctly at all. It was Lion that I went into.
You gave up
yesterday.
your Lost Focus. That one?
No, that was Debug.
That happened
on
too.
Debug, my Debug kill, I completely forgot to use my focus stacks, and I slotted out. I forgot my font of power. So, like, there's so much pressure to get everything right that it's really easy to fumble and miss things. Not that it was necessary, because these big openers, the way I'm handling it is, I'm not trying to cheese it as fast as possible. I want to do as many mechanics as possible, but I don't want to fail the DPS check. So I'm sort of doing a moderately strong opener that sort of gets me ahead, and then I just play regularly from there and do my best. and it lets me see most of the fight. But when I went into Lion, I just completely fumbled everything. I didn't even proc my Blood Rage, and it was just a complete disaster. And then that put me behind on the DPS check, which led to using an irregular just before a raid wide that one-shot me, because I was thinking I have to do something about this DPS check. I'm gonna go.
I
for
told
high
you
risk
that,
and
man.
use the
I
irregular.
thought it was gonna
Yeah.
be bad. Well, that's where max health is, and Lost Bubble is gonna like help a lot, right?
Yeah.
In addition to the
But the
protection
thing is,
itself.
I had died to the awkward taste of blood pattern plus the expanding earth AoEs that I hadn't seen before, so I just wasn't ready for it. So I lost my bubble, so I was only at 70,000 HP after the irregular I used. So otherwise, I would have survived.
Yeah, it's
You know, it kind of
unfortunate.
reminds me when you were talking about having all that stuff kind of in that area with the duel. Maybe if they had like a squire, and Balana will kind of remember this a little bit from WoW. It had squires in WoW, right? Back in
When Wrath,
yeah, Wrath. Like I think, and they would do some stuff. I can't remember. They would let
the
you.
Argent tournament, you'd get the little squire and you do the dailies with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought they like gave you like inventory. I forgot what they. Maybe they didn't. Maybe I'm imagining.
They give you a
that.
headache.
Yeah.
The jousting tournament too, like.
Yeah.
I've never played WoW.
Yeah, no. So no, I was thinking about that. It's like maybe if they like had some guy like the duel started and he just kind of came over and he plopped the box down or threw a backpack down. It's like, all right, get ready, and that way you didn't have to do all the weird stuff with it. But I don't know.
All that would really alleviate is the load time, because some of these setups do actually require you to use that box to slot out more actions because you don't have enough holster space. But I mean, like Zeph said, so for me, and I'm sure this is the same for you now, Zeph, you're like trying to psych yourself up during the critical engagement that you're trying not to be hit in. Because you're like, I don't have time after. And then what I have to do is you're playing a game of probability with your notoriety. You're like, I'm going to get it, so I'm going to use these 20 seconds that it's picking people to go start buffing and getting everything ready.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Otherwise, I
return
wasted
immediately and start. I return immediately and start getting ready.
And
But that's
for
the thing.
those of you who don't know, they've also added a new action. It's a lodestone that just, like Balana said, it hearts you back to the entrance. So your return has a really long cooldown, but these are very cheap actions that just right back to your beginning.
Yeah, so always good to carry some of those on you.
Okay.
Gosh, like even doing the flare star for like the 8th or 9th time is the shaky hand, trying to menu, like trying to slot the thing in there. Like, come on, I got 10 seconds left. My buffs are rolling. Got to get in.
Yeah, and the lion duel is just still the most stressful because you can't make a mistake. You can make one. You can make one mistake, and then you cannot make another. And I made 2, but Onslaught is the best fucking gap closer in the game. And it saved my ass because I was getting knocked into the wall from the Nidhogg fireballs, the knockback on Windpeak, and I was getting pushed into the wall, but my Onslaught caught me as my foot was about to go in. And then I had to sprint out because I was in the first fireball.
Yeah, normally use the knockback to get to the third fireball.
Yeah. But it's really stressful. I think when I beat the duel and I checked my heart rate right after Lion, I was still over 200 BPM, and like a couple minutes later, I was still at like 173. I was like, oh, this is really stressful.
200. I only get up to 170, and I thought
Menenius though was not bad. Well, I think what spiked mine was that Onslaught, that mistake. Right.
Oh right, yeah.
So because then it's like you're over, and then it's not over, and then the enrage happens, and it might be over. But Menenius, I actually didn't feel stressful at all. That one was really good, and we found out yesterday. Local paladin Atreus Auditori tested hollow ground on the tank buster to see if it would work. I mean, Lost Excellence gives you that hollow ground effect that works on DPS, which is fantastic. But we were like, will a tank invuln work? Because a lot of the other duels don't, and it does. So you actually don't need to bring Mana Wall if you're tanking, and you don't need to bring Dispel either, because they also added a Lost Action item that's on the GCD. Lost
Reflect.
Curtain. Or sorry, Reflect. I said Dispel. Yeah, it's Reflect. Lost Light Curtain will give you the effect of your Reflect. So you could just bring DPS actions on that fight if you're a tank. Or really anything. And Lost Excellence is fantastic.
I'm glad the invuln works, because I killed Menenius yesterday on Warrior, and the tank buster came up, and I knew that I had slotted in, or attempted to slot in Mana Wall ahead of time. because like well ahead of time. So I basically finished my opener. I was thinking to myself, okay, I've done a lot of damage. I can sort of chill out on damage here. I'm going to slot in Mana Wall early instead of my banner, and I'll have it ready for the Buster. And then the Buster comes up, and I check my actions, and Mana Wall isn't there, and the banner's still there. And I'm just thinking, what's happened? Where is it? And so I just panic press Holmgang, and it worked. Fortunately,
Nice.
and my auto potion proc, so I only got dropped to 50% HP.
That's also
I
really
went back
helpful
and-
because you can irregular that one, right? Menenius should be fully irregular.
I believe you can, yeah. He doesn't do so much. It's not so scary, I think, that you
He's
can't
got
use
a-
a regular all the way through.
He's got a big raid wide, the Tempest move, and then you have to proc
Giga
those
Tempest.
mines.
It's
to do
not
some
that bad.
damage.
I think it's like 13k on tanks, so it's like
But
45k.
you can afford to blow cooldowns, and if you're
irregular.
blood raging, you have them. So
Well, yeah, that's the thing. His damage is infrequent enough, I think, and yeah, it's not too bad. So as long as you can invuln that tank buster, because the tank buster does 40k approximately with Mana Wall, I think. So that's like 120 to a tank if you're using a regular. So you have to use cooldowns, otherwise you're going to die. But if you can just invuln it, then yeah, that makes a regular a lot more viable. What I've actually taken to doing is using a regular just on my opener and then swapping to Martialist just for the sake of safety. So I sort of get it out of the way. I get the high damage out without taking too much damage, and then I just swap, and then I don't have to worry about my HP anymore. And I think that's
bring
enough.
one for every AR window.
And that also so
Yeah.
what you can also do in addition to all this other buffing is whatever your other action is, whether it's a banner or not, when you're on the dummy, you could actually put a font of power there. Even though warrior don't benefit from the crit, you can put font of power, and if you have a regular, it goes from a 30% buff to a 40% buff. So you could throw that
Yeah.
on and then immediately reslot it for a banner, go in, do everything as natural, and just get the extra 40%. And because you had a regular up, that was even better. And then slot Martialist after. It's pretty viable.
Yeah.
Expensive, but viable.
Speaking of
what do you use money
Menenius-
on in this game, anyways, right?
Yeah, rating.
Well,
Yeah, speaking of Menenius and the sort of the full clear experience, how do you guys feel about having someone mark the mines for you? Because I feel like that trivialized it a little bit for me, and I think I would like to do it again without having any way marks.
My
done
first
for
time,
me.
I did not use any marks, and I didn't put any on the arena because I was by myself in the instance, literally the only player there. So I didn't know what was coming.
Yeah.
So I just had to remember. And at first, I was like, "Are they gone?" And I was like, "I don't think they're gone. I'm just not gonna go there." But it's really not that bad because they're in the corners
can-
or the
yeah,
inner
you
corners.
can-
So you
as long
just
as you
play out of the
stick-
cardinals.
Yeah, you basically play in a plus region that's sort of the middle extending to the Cardinals. As long as you always path through the middle before going somewhere, then I think you're for the most part okay.
So Ruination into Exaflare, which is so Ruination is a cross in the arena. You just stand out of it, and then these Exaflares that are alternating appear, going up and down and left and right. You have to find a spot that's not being hit by either of them. I mean, you could dodge, but there's always a spot that you don't have to move in. And so what I was doing when I did the duel the first time and I didn't have any markers was I tried to just commit. When I started thinking maybe these mines are persisting, I tried to commit to one that was not near the center side and doing the Exaflares near there. And that
It is
worked
also
well.
possible to do a dodge. Because the way we're doing the mechanic right now is we sort of look for two Exaflares that are pointing away from each other and we go in the cross section.
Yeah.
I have actually seen someone dodge directly in behind one in the middle, in front of one
Same.
that was looking at them. So that is possible.
I watched
It's
Shayna
risky,
do that.
but it's possible. So if you really didn't want to gamble on going out and potentially getting too close to a mine, you could consider trying to dodge in behind one in the center.
Mhm.
As long as you're
Actually,
quick about it.
I had to do those mechanics once. When I zoned in, my banner and my font both didn't apply because I was at the buff cap. And my flare star only did like 60% of the boss's health, and I had to take the rest
Only,
manually.
only 60%.
I
You
can't
poor
believe
thing.
I actually had to do that mechanic, guys. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was wild. I was just
I thought
like,
it was
wait, this fight has
Enrage.
mechanics?
man.
Yeah,
So
I
No, I was
recommend
gonna-
doing them legitimately. Those fights
Yeah.
are fulfilling. If you can, I recommend doing them fully. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you're missing out.
Balana
if
just
you-
doesn't give a
like,
shit.
They're
I mean,
pretty
Troy,
cool, man.
if you want to speedrun it, like, I still think it's impressive that people are able to do that much damage.
Oh,
I just think if you want to enjoy the fights in their entirety, that it's definitely worth doing, in my opinion. There's a lot of really cool mechanics and mechanic combinations in there, like the bogs, rotating plus
the
AoEs,
O12S
the
stuff comes
fireballs,
right
plus
back.
the puddle baits. I think that's a really cool mechanic, and I think that would be fitting in a Savage, even if you sort of imagine spreading the party out into different spots and sort of rotating around as the safe spots expand in front of you. I think that's a really cool
until you have
concept.
Blood Rage at 3 stacks, and you have 2 seconds to apply
Yeah.
it, and Onslaught puts you in a fire, and you die.
Yeah.
If
I was
if-
actually I was holding my IR after every mechanic just to make sure.
If it was press a button and you could queue in and do the fights, I definitely would love to go and do them normally, but it's such a pain to like farm out the mobs, to spawn the fate, to do the CE, to do the duel, to get the notoriety, to not get in the duel, to do loop it all over again.
And the people that
And
are
it's-
doing that aren't getting, Valor or Fortitude, right? Because you're spending time
Yeah.
killing Magitex and not doing Fates.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
and-
even with that, it's one of the best metal farms in the game
Oh,
because
of
of the
course.
duel buff afterwards.
Yeah, of
course.
Assuming you win the duel, and assuming you win the
Assuming
duel,
somebody wins the duel.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you can cut out the assumption though if you just go in there and flare star it. So
Yeah.
fuck it. Like, if it's
and then you're
between
very tempted, right? You're like, let me just
Yeah.
fucking.
it's like I can have a fulfilling fight, learn it and prog it and have some fun, die a few times, or I could press flare star and get 6 million metal. Like, no brainer for me.
I think it makes sense if you're rushing.
If that's what
the-
you're after,
the
sure.
stacks,
If you're
yeah.
farming, if
I think
you're
that's
just a cheap piece of shit, that's great. It's wonderful.
I think what Zeph and I's approach, we had a very similar mindset in that we're like, we have nothing. Like the relics came out, and people were like, wow, are these best in slot? I mean, I know I'm a mentor in the balance, I'm supposed to come up with that, but another mentor already did, and I'm like, I don't care. It's gonna be a gain. It's gonna be a gain. But the relics are always best in slot at the end of the expansion. But to what end this time?
Like I haven't even
no
bothered
ultimate or
getting
anything.
bis belts for most of my jobs. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna
Did you
use those
even
for?
begin your relic, Balana?
I've finished it already.
Okay. Are you gonna use it? Like to level?
I mean,
and
what
are you
unlock
gonna
them,
use
maybe?
it
Yeah,
on?
of
It's just
course.
like-
It's bis. It's got the Walmart
Yeah.
logo on it. It's a great
Yeah.
book.
Oh,
I just
man.
I don't find. I mean, I'm gonna finish it eventually, but like the duels were what I looked forward to here, and that was what I wanted to do because the relics are just you're gonna get them, right? You're eventually gonna get them with just time.
Well, for me,
and
like
I-
this entire content's just leveling alt because that's the thing I'm lacking. I don't care about anything else because raiding, like again, getting the relic's not going to help me in Endwalker. It's not going to really help me do much at all. So I'm like, I could focus on doing that, and like if I'm need to go do something that takes me away from leveling, well, maybe I won't do it. I just don't, it's not giving me something that's like gives me anything of real value, and so at this point at least, because I have so little time to dedicate towards things, I'm like, well, what will make me happy in the end if I get it and I'm done? And
Well,
it's-
if you get all the relics and finish all the duels, you get a cruise chaser mount.
is that what
Mount
you guys
Works
are
at Square
assuming?
Enix.
Yeah. Well, that's
Uncle
what I'm
works at
working on
Square
right
Enix,
now.
as
I
they
just
told
didn't
me.
want to tell you guys, but I mean,
Because
You also need all the field notes.
fairly
500
confident it's a PvP reward.
season 20
It's season 20 because Square Enix is
solo
like, let's burn
queue
this down.
for a full party mount. So 100 players that work really hard can pilot 800 players across the data center.
Yeah, I am, because if that happens, PvP is just going to be destroyed. Like players are going to do all the horrible things that's always like
No, it's
out
going to be
there.
popular. People don't
It's
do
going to
scrupulous
sure
activities
it'll be
and-
popular, but like all the bad things are just going to like explode. And I feel like that's. I kind of want to see it happen just to show light onto what's going on with everything with it, and just
all
have it-
they'll see. This many games were played in season 19, and this many games were played in season 20. So PvP is a success.
Yeah,
Wow, we
Cruise
did
Chaser
something
mounts
right.
in PvP. Yeah, that's the right choice. We got to make sure we got Cruise Chaser mounts for it.
God, if
We'll
that
see.
mount is PvP,
You're gonna start.
I might have to do the feast.
You're gonna have to do feast.
You'll be good.
You're-
Summoners get a button that kicks shields off of people, including hollowed.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
get the old
pretty
master
nasty.
spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I really enjoy legitimately done PvP with Feast and everything. It's great, and I wish that system had a little bit more attention this expansion. But maybe it's just I just want to see what happens if they did that. I want to see the result.
We have PvP in Bolstra now.
Yeah,
with
you know what? I was
and
also
the right
thinking
mechanics. There's PvP
because they were talking about it in chat a little bit. Wouldn't it have been funny if like one of the duels was you versus another player?
Like you versus the people who qualified in like a
two
Grand
people
Royale.
qualify and they have to face off. I mean,
I'd be down.
It might get cheesed, right? Because you're like, oh, well, I'll let you win this time.
Flare star all of us, and we're just gonna fall over.
Yeah.
Going against a black mage is just chain sleep you. Stuck for minutes.
Yeah. And then just some jobs don't PvP at all. Very well. Maybe with the actions, you could probably figure out a way to like make every single job work.
Yeah, you just stun somebody and run behind them and assassinate.
Oh, jeez.
You're just standing 5 feet apart from each other, chain popping excellence, hollowed over and over.
Well, I mean, so the duels you guys would say are harder if they're done legitimately than Southern, or is it?
I don't agree with that.
No,
they sort
mechanically
of fit in above and below here and there.
They mesh like a raid tier would mesh, where I think there is an easier, a middle, and a hardest one from each. Right?
Okay.
The mechanics.
Balana, out of all the mechanics you've done, what do you think?
I've actually done a good amount of all the fights until I was just like, fuck it, Flare Star. But there's surprisingly the biggest change I think is that there's like a DPS check to them, as we were talking about earlier. And like back in the Southern Front, tanks were like the preferred thing to pick to go in there and just like knock them over because you could hollow through mechanics or you wouldn't need to bring as many. I think
Warrior
actions.
specifically, because if you got juked by knockback, Onslaught saved you. Lion, it cheesed. Like when he jumped across the arena, dude, Warrior was just busted for that, right?
Yeah.
Or Fizz ranged, because a Fizz range could just run around doing whatever they needed to do.
Yeah, you just do whatever it's comfortable on, basically. And tanks have simplistic rotations compared to DPS. You can sort of focus more on the mechanics. You don't have to worry about your health. You don't have to worry about slotting in a mana wall, depending on the fight. It just makes it more comfortable in general, I would say, which is why tanks were used a lot in Southern Front.
Mm-hmm. So the duels this time have, 3 to 4 times more health, so you actually have to worry about your damage a little bit if you're going in there on a like a tank or a healer.
Okay.
You can't really die too much or you're gonna hit and rage even with your buffs.
All right.
Yeah. I would think it's probably so Gabriel, in my opinion, was the easiest one from the first time around. As long as people could just not press their button during dynamic sensor. And then this time around, I think Menenius is the easiest one. You have relatively full uptime. You just got to dodge mines. And then I would say Lion was probably the hardest from both of the other ones. Sardavor was like a juke, right? Because it could alternate knocking you back or doing a big chariot, and that kind of dictated what you had to do. But if you just paid attention, it wasn't too bad. And that's kind of the same with Dabog, where it's either going to buff one arm or the other.
Yeah.
But Lion is definitely, I think, the king of the duels.
Do you think the previous Lion is harder or this?
I think this one's harder because it has alteration in the mechanics where it can tether to different clones or himself.
Yeah, that's true. And there is that really awkward dodge that I was presented with, which now that I've had a chance to look at the VOD, now I know what to do, but it's...
Yeah, I think you were looking at the wrong Quake, to be honest. I would have used the other one.
Yeah, the other one.
The problem is that mechanic is resolved in that pattern without being near it, right? So you gotta it feels
you have to have a sense of
out
distance.
of place. Mm-hmm.
I love how Red just researches other people's attempts.
No, that was.
We watched each other.
We were watching each other. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know what he's talking about because I had to do it like an hour before him. So so I was like, this wasn't for me. It wasn't too bad because I did the original Lion duel many times, so that the Quakes still pulse out the same way. They're just in different spots of the arena.
Yeah.
So before, the Exaquakes would happen, and there's Exaflares and Quakes happening, and you had to dodge into the middle of the arena. But this time, because they're in two different corners of the arena, the middle's completely dangerous. You have to actually dodge into one of them, and that's safe. But the way the mechanic works is you either dodge into the corner of the Exaflare, into the Quake, or you dodge into the side of it because you had to start on the side. And that's what's getting people, is a lot of the POVs people are watching is one pattern and not the other.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So I'd obviously studied by watching other people attempt it. I was taking clips and then I was sort of slowing it down and looking for where the safe spot is. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to start right next to one and I need to end up right here in the middle, like right next to the middle of the Earth AoE basically is sort of where you're aiming for. And then I get this pattern where I get pushed to one corner by the clones and lion, and then they don't spawn near me, and I'm just thinking, okay, well, everything that I had prepared myself for is out the window, and I have to try and improvise how I'm going to dodge this, and I just
you looked like a deer in the headlights for a second. You're like, do I go left or right here?
Yeah,
there's an exaflare to my right.
I was directly between them when I checked the VOD. Went on the second pulse, I was directly between, and I tried to sprint. And I realize now, which I'll try and be more prepared for next time, which is if I ever get in a situation like that, and I think it's a good tip for anyone playing tank, it's just press your invuln. If you realize you're in a bad situation, just press your invuln. You'll get a damage down, but at least you'll survive. And it's
that
better
happened to me
than
at the bog.
losing
I was getting knocked into the wrong cleave because I misread the arm and then I looked too late, so I just home gang.
Yeah.
The damage downs aren't permanent either. It's like 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's better than getting weakness and losing your one re-raise on Lion. So I think if I did that, I might have actually cleared because I'd learnt my lesson the first time. I was like, well, I have to be prepared for this now. And I also wouldn't have popped the irregular because I wouldn't have been so far behind on the DPS check.
You had another theory too, right? About whether Lion is
which
tethered?
I haven't had a chance to check.
Maybe somebody watching has if you present it.
Yeah, so it looks like when Lion is in the middle and the Earth AoEs appear, he has this sort of ground effect that travels from him to the expanding Earth AoEs, and when the effect reaches it, that's when they start pulsing. Each of the clones have the same effect, which is basically tethering them to 2 of the Exaquakes each, the 2 nearest ones. And so my theory is that each of those mechanics counts as a damage source for that particular tether debuff. So if you wanted, perhaps you could just stand behind Lion in the Earth AoE to resolve that debuff stack and trivialize the dodge, not having to do a dodge into the second pulse. I haven't had a chance to try it because I haven't gone back in since then. But I'm wondering if that will work. I was thinking of trying it and popping home gang. The problem is if it fails, then the debuff is still going to kill me if it doesn't resolve the debuff.
But if that works, that would make it easier.
No, so you would only...
He's saying dodge the taste of blood.
You'd be behind him. So rather than being put in the open corner by standing in front of Lion, you go behind him. Yeah, you go behind him. Well, it's one of 2 ways. You sort of hang around the middle, and if the spot between the 2 Taste of Bloods you need to get hit is away from the Earth AoEs, then you just run straight behind Lion to the Earth AoE that is there, and you just get hit by that one instead. And I think that would simplify the dodge a lot. I just don't know if it works.
So if somebody wants to test and waste their notoriety...
6 months, dude. You got 6 months to test it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we did yesterday with the hollow ground test on Menenius. Because you just got to play around now, right? And it's nice to see what you can get away with.
Well, outside of these duels, I do want to talk about that end dungeon just a little bit more.
That's all there was duels.
Oh
yeah, sure.
Because I did hear complaints. I did hear complaints from some of the players, just watching Twitter and everything else, that this content is not fulfilling for anyone who wants difficult content. I mean, obviously with duels, if you cheese them, they're not difficult, so I can get that point too. But like the dungeon itself, with Echo, it makes it completely laughable as well, right?
Even without Echo, I believe it's heavily imbalanced.
I mean, what are you talking about, Frosty? They did put a Savage version in. It's called doing it 48 people instead of 8.
Yeah, well, the thing is...
Which is the same before, too. You did 24 Delubrum or 48 Delubrum.
Fair.
Yeah,
but it's heavily imbalanced.
Castrum wasn't supposed to be particularly difficult either. Like, it's not exactly high-end content. It's sort of like a maybe slightly more difficult 24-man. It's supposed to be accessible. The problem is, for me, it lacks the atmosphere of Castrum. Like, just the sense of scale. Like, you're going in with a lot of people, and just like it's not necessarily the gameplay element, it's just the feeling of doing it just felt a lot more shallow this time around because you could just go in with a small group and nothing really mattered.
It's because they catch-up mechanicked it on launch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they should have delayed that. Yeah, I'm willing to bet. I will put my left shoe on it that if people had the Echo when Castrum launched and could underscale it, same thought process would be had. That people would feel the same. It was too easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the hardest part, actually, there is one hard part to Del Taco or Diarrhea or whatever it's called.
Same thing. Yeah.
Delubrum
There
2.
is a bonus chest you can get on the first boss if they both die before any ads start spawning. Like if they both die at the same time.
Is
there's
that
a
what
third
it
chest
is?
that shows up? Yeah, it's got 60 more of the mithril coins in it.
Yeah.
Maybe Cruise
In
Chasers.
general,
I've seen
the
it a few
chests have.
times.
I think the chests are
40
too underwhelming this time around. You barely get any
40.
actions. You get currency for
Yeah.
gear that doesn't matter. It's literally just glamour. Like if people don't have 530 by now, I doubt they're farming all the way through this content to get 525 gear per raid.
I already have I'm already like 1.5 stacks through that currency. It's just taking up an extra inventory slot at this point.
Or, I mean, you can turn the mithril ones into platinum, which frees up some space.
And then buy what?
I will do that. I haven't even checked. Like I never even bothered to check because it wasn't something that I was there for. All I knew is that I was just racking up stacks.
I feel Sardavar versus the bottom critical engagement rush, the critical engagement gauntlet. So what happens is you begin and there's those air bikes, the mounts that you get, and 8 players can take them and go to the top. If you go to the top and you weren't supposed to and you return, you leave. You go to the beginning of Zadnor, you are screwed. And they don't
That
tell
happened
you.
to me. The first
That
time
happened?
I saw those things and I was like, oh, what's this? And I clicked on it and then I just flew off and I'm like, well, okay, this is happening. Can I go back? Nope.
One of
I'm
the
stuck
times I
here
went
now.
in undersized and I was the only tank, and I'm like, I'll go kill Sardavar by myself. So the healer and Bard, the healer and Summoner came up with me. So then it was like a Bard and a Dragoon down bottom. And I'm like, you guys need to figure out a way to go help them, or we need to die and wipe. And they're like, we'll just return. And they lodestoned out.
Oh.
That was a failed run. So my issue right now is you go up to Sardavar and you can't return. So you'd have to wipe and then restart, which is whatever. You lose metal, whatever. And that's fine. You could do that. But I haven't been in a run yet where Sardavar was killed after the critical engagement rush. I do not think you need 8 players up top.
I have not actually ever had Echo. That my attempts at it have always been populated.
Well, I was in a full run, and as 8 players that go up, we killed it before the gauntlet rushed down bottom, and that was the other, whatever, 40 players or whatever.
The bottom part is definitely the longer part. If you want to get the extra chest, have the top part just hold. Have it get to 5% and coordinate a little bit.
Unlike original Castrum, where it didn't actually make a difference.
Yeah,
No,
it feels like that was a
and-
nod to original Castrum, because the people
Yeah.
would always be yelling like slow top, oh no, they gotta be even, but it literally didn't matter. The enrage was at 7 minutes, I think, and the percentage difference
Somewhere
didn't
around
matter.
there, yeah.
I did like the idea of so the bottom. What you do is you basically go through a series of all of the critical or most of the critical engagements that matter, and it's pretty cool. Like you're kind of trained to qualify for the duels doing those, which is nice. I like that.
That was kind of like Lion in the end of Castrum. He was sort of like a trial run, like you could use him to practice.
It was funny
some of the
because I
mechanics
completed the
needed.
duel before I did that. So
Yeah.
I went
Yeah.
into Lion in Castrum and was like, "Hey, this is easy. I better not fucking get hit by this." And then somebody else got hit and didn't die. I'm like, "Oh."
Okay, so
But,
explain to me these bosses that we're facing, just because I haven't seen it at all. So the first one was like a gauntlet of critical engagements.
For one party, and the other party takes the air bikes up top, and they actually fight Sardavar the Inferno, who is back, and he's done dirty there
Similar
because that's the
to
last time
1v1.
you fight him, and you could technically never fight him. But he is the same as the 1v1. In essence, did they do the reverse time in the
Yes,
1v1?
he does.
Okay, yeah. so
No, they didn't. They didn't have reverse time in 1v1.
Okay, in this there's a reverse time, and all it is the time clock on the ground rotation, but backwards. So you stand on the fast one and then go to the slow one. Phoenix is still there. Phase change is still there. There are those towers that
It's a
show
different
up.
phase change though. He turns into something else.
He
not
turns
the
into
fire
the
pit
boss.
command.
He turns into the boss from Grand Cosmos, the final
Yes.
boss, and he does the left right cleaves.
Yep.
But he still becomes a fire demon, whatever. And you beat him, and then that's it. You feel good about killing a guy who's 732 years old or something.
Okay.
And you wait. You just kill a series of ads until the other team wins, and then you're done. And then at the end, you push a button, and it'll open up a gateway. And the button mechanic is weird. Both teams have to push it at the same time, but the door doesn't open until they're there anyway. So
That's a later button actually, but
this button there's one on Start of War too.
There's one after Start of War, but there's no like timing.
Oh, does the
between
bottom not have a button?
The bottom is just sitting there like, why isn't this gate opening? What's going on?
Okay. So you're opening the button for them.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. So you continue down from there, and what is the second pack? It's not the big boy, is it?
There's a single mob
one
that's
mob.
nonsense that you just knock over, and then it's the big the
Corridors?
where you turn into goo.
It's
Oh
patches.
no, it's big. Yeah.
It's patches. He turns you into slime. So there's a mechanic that comes out, and it's what is it? Billowing necro something or whatever. It's basically the mechanic from
Necromaster
Voidark where you have to get hit by something. So you stand in these puddles and you get turned into a slime, and he jumps on you, and your body gets flattened and you're gooped, and then you're fine when you turn back into a person. Or you do not turn into a slime. He jumps on you, does not kill you, stuns you for 3 seconds instead of being a slime for 15, and then you continue.
You can actually
Or-
not get hit by that.
Yes, you can dodge them, but if he can pick
Dancer,
you
I was
though.
leveling.
He can pick you.
Well, I was
But most of the time he
playing
won't.
Dancer. I was leveling Dancer when I went in there for multiple runs, and I would just sort of on Avant back and forth, and I had pretty good success rate. Dodging everything.
You had a pretty good-
I'm gonna go queue up his dancer.
Yeah, jeez.
No, yeah, the success rate was pretty good. Dodging back and forth.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but it's kind of forgettable. Most of the mechanics that you're gonna see in these fights.
He also does a forced march, which is resolved by standing in the middle and DPSing the boss.
yeah.
Because all the puddles that turn you into slimes are like what you don't want to get marched into at that point, but they're all at the diagonals, and you don't get diagonal force marched, so you sit on the boss.
And the hitbox is so large, you go from one end to the other. There's also like the landslide. Or I'm sorry, like the
Titan bombs.
boulders from Titan. Yeah, so
Yeah.
You do like a 3-to-1 dodge on that, but it's even if you don't, you take a vuln that goes away in a minute. It's whatever. It's
Basically.
forgettable. And then
The next
you
part's
move on
actually-
to
the most interesting part in there.
because
where
most
it's-
people muscled it and didn't know how to do it at first, and they didn't have enough players to do it properly at first.
Yeah, so you go up to it, and there's 2 hallways that are like filled with lightning on the floor, and there's all these like laser traps and shit. And you need 4 people to stay behind and stand on this platform, which turns off the lightning floor. The lightning floor really hurts. It ticks for like 30k a second. It'll just like delete you most of the time. I ran through it with Titan Edgy out and Echo because the Titan Edgy shield was like 250,000 or something. It was ridiculous. But those 4 people need to stay on that platform, and then ads start spawning and like put AoE markers on it and shit. You gotta like dodge around while staying on the platform because if one person steps off, the lightning turns back on and just fries everybody in the hallway.
Nice.
So they have to run down this
there are
gauntlet.
these TV screens too that show. So there are these beams that shoot down left or right lanes, and you can physically look at the TV screens, the 4 players standing on the panels, to see where they are, and then they need to communicate with the rest of the people. So you can voice whatever, or you just shout. And the way most of the groups that we've seen do it are like, there's the left side and the right side. So you do like left to indicate that the left room's getting a left beam, or you do left right, and then you shout to the other side like right or whatever. And then the parties have to read and coordinate and not get blasted because it's pretty potent if you don't have echo. But if you do have echo, you blaze through it.
I would like to add, if you're playing on NA, make sure you use /yell, not /shout. If you happen to be in Sphere's instance, he may be feeding you misinformation.
Oh, well, he just start doing
Otherwise-
randoms.
If he's outside, yeah, he tweeted
That's
about it.
funny.
He said if he's outside and he sees the
Okay.
shouts instead of the yells, he's just gonna shout back.
Okay, there
Fake
was a group. There was a group that they were doing bottom, and they asked Start of Wars %, and I was like 72. I wasn't in there at all.
You know, got to be careful with that. Like, I got tired of people asking about how long until Castrum's up because, you know, they use every like 5 minutes. Somebody's like, Castrum. Even if Castrum's up, they say, how long's on Castrum, right? And so, like, they don't try or anything else. And I just got into the habit of just saying random stuff, like random amounts, because I'm like,
it was up like 2 hours ago. And...
Yeah, it was like that. I would say something ridiculous, like, 2 hours. 3 hours. Impossible, because it's every hour, right? And then someone's
now
like, okay.
it's even faster.
Yeah, but then, like, this guy tried to, like, as soon as I said that, it's like, hey, report him. And he was, like, trying to convince other people to report me for saying that.
Okay.
I'm like, I just don't.
That's funny.
I just don't get it
That's
sometimes.
funny.
But yeah, no.
So you finish the lightning hallways, and that's
Yeah.
where both sides need to hit the panels at the same time, or just spam them until the other person hits it.
Okay.
And then you continue down, and you see Menenius, who's the dude who's trying to wreck your stuff that you didn't kill in the duel yet because you didn't spawn it yet. And he jumps in Hyper Gundam, and he goes in a Super Gundam that is Perfect Alexander's brother, but like a Beyblade.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts fighting you and pushing your stuff in, and then Lion's like, whoa! Don't forget, we have unfinished business from Castrum, and I've got a bigger, better Dawan the Third. Was like Dawan the Younger or something, and he jumps down on a bigger bird, and then that thing's got 100% HP. The other one's got whatever it has, and then they keep splitting HP with each other, like in the Void Arc fight between the tree dog and the tree itself. And they just keep equalizing their HP, which is fine because one of them takes increased magic damage. He just bursts that. You do a bunch of mechanics, jumps around. He does some Beyblade spinny stuff. He does like a sacrament kind of stuff where he'll like move and either do radiant sacrament or regular sacrament, blast out to stuff. And if you've done Alexander at all, then it's fine. You push him over. Kind of forgettable, except there's a bug if you kill them while they're tethered. So if they're too close to each other, most of the time, they don't like get hurt at all. You have to drag them apart. But if you kill one while that tethers up, the other one's unkillable, and you got to time out and fail, which is a bug right now.
That's not good.
Yeah, I've only seen it happen once, but it's kind of messed up. But
we've almost killed the robot before the one jumped
that's crazy.
Got to like the low teens. I wonder if you can like actually just like kill him, or if he'll stop at 0.1.
Probably gonna
I
stop.
wonder.
He would have to.
Well, there's the dungeon. It's was it Anamnesis and Nider, where that first boss that like is the beast thing and it spawns another one. If you kill it, a little time passes and the other one comes out. So
oh yeah, the shark one you're talking about?
Yeah. No, not the shark one. It's like this like void beast thing. It's the later dungeon. The other, it's not Academia Nider. It's Anamnesis, where you're on Bismarck.
Oh, the first boss. That one.
Yeah. If you kill that other one before the second one spawns, the second one will just come out and bite you.
I do wonder because they split HP, but like Balana said, if you get it to 0.1, when does the HP split happen? Because could you finish off the Perfect Alexander boss? Like before
the second one comes out with 100% HP.
Yeah, so, but I'm just saying, could you just kill him from 0.1 before he splits his HP, and then you're just contending with Dawan and nothing else?
You can actually kill them before they manage to split HP. I think we had Dawan at like 30% once when the robot just like fell over. And all the mechanics become jokes at that point because you're only doing like you only have half of them going off.
Oh no! You know what?
Dawan's
Yeah,
mechanic.
we killed Dawan first, and he was just laying there on the ground, and we were like, "Hello," which was really unfortunate because he did the untargetable Beyblade thing after. We're just doing nothing.
Oh, so just hanging out.
Kill the big robot first, so you don't have to deal with that.
But what you don't want to say is when you're DPSing the both of them and you want to kill the robot, don't say more on the robot because that just sounds offensive to the robot. And that's what I said our first time seeing it. They're like, that's rude. I was like, you catch the Nimrods outside.
Oh,
that takes me back to Uwu Prog whenever I said more on nails. The same joke was made.
Yeah.
So you finish those two, and then you go into a cutscene. You pick up a chest, and you go down, and it turns out the Garleans are really good at creating Ultima weapons, like all kinds of them. This time, they decided it would be great to take a Serpent Neo X Death and combine it with Diablo and create the Diablo armament, and give you mechanics you haven't seen in 7 years. Now, Frosty, do you remember the old Diablo gate mechanic where you had to like pay attention to the symbols and mark the doors? Yeah. Except this time there's no doors you're marking. You just got to remember them or type it in chat or something, but it's all different colors and shapes. And that happens, and it's without fail when I'm running in pugs, like more than half of the people are dead when it's over. It's pretty wild, and a lot
It
of
was
other
my favorite
mechanics
dungeon.
too.
I loved that dungeon
Really?
back in the day. Yeah, music was great. Atmosphere was
That
just
music is
nice.
the first thing I think of.
I did
yeah.
enjoy it. Diablo's had a long history in this game, more than I thought
Yeah.
he would.
He's done a lot of stuff. He was a big raid boss for the Alliance. He was a dungeon boss. He's here. I don't know.
I've got a good tip for solving that mechanic and other mechanics in there. Is you go in on White Mage with Chain Spell and you pop the Thin Air, the free MP thing, and you just res for 30
You
seconds
get your
straight.
achievement.
Oh, I got that Chivo, man. I finally finished it out.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
That's a good idea. I might do that.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, that boss is pretty straightforward. There's a lot of mechanics where it's just like, watch out for this, don't stand in that, move over from this. No, there's a really cool mechanic that reminds. So I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, and there's a mechanic that reminds you of Brachydios, who is a brute monster who throws slime down on the ground that starts out green and then like turns yellow, orange, ignites, and blows up. And there are these AoEs that Diablo puts down that start out green and then they light up, and the other sections overlap. You kind of got to dodge them to the side, the same way you used to do. I think it was in Wanderer's Palace. Was that what had the demon wall? And you had to dodge like side to side, like the beams would come down and you had to go out. Amdapor, that's right. Sorry, it's been a million years. But the same thing kind of happens there. And then later on in the fight, he like turns 90 degrees and then they start alternating. And that's probably the coolest mechanic in that fight.
Okay. Is it, and that's it? After you beat that, it's done?
No, there's like a laser light show. So there's like these cornel cleaves with the dice mechanic where you can't move.
A literal light show, by the way.
Yeah, it's a literal light. It's like when Leviathan in Eden 3 starts like lighting up in Savage and blasting everything. It's the same thing. He just starts green lasering everywhere and starts going like this. And you're like, what is happening? What is going on right now? I want to get closer and look at this, but now the model's gone. Which I think was that visible in your clip, Zeph, in the intro, right? You were standing like in his hitbox, turned around, bell cleaving. You just can't see him.
Yeah, I mean that's good calling, so you actually see what's going on. But oh, he also puts out acceleration bombs during that, which persist after you kill the boss. So I've had it where we down the boss and everybody's like, "All right, time to go get the chest," and they start running, and just blow up from the acceleration bomb.
And it is nice. You do get like 3 million metal, which is cool, but you don't really get too many rewards outside of that. You have a chance at getting an essence. I've had runs where I've gotten a single essence, and that was it for like the fragments, which is unfortunate because the fragments are kind of rare. I don't really want to go back and do castrums for some of them, but
some of the castrum ones do drop in Del Taco.
Yes, well that's what I mean. I was hoping for bloodsuckers because they really help if you're going to solo content with lifesteal, but they're very rare.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
is there a mount that drops from that too?
Yeah,
I've heard people talk about it, but I've never seen anybody actually drop it.
Which one?
There is an actual mount that drops a raptor.
Yeah, it's a little
Oh yeah, I got it.
Renee
I got it
one.
2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
I got one.
Yeah, I have not seen it.
okay.
I remember the first time we cleared it, someone in the Alliance goes, is the mount 100%? It's just like, oh, come on.
All right.
But luckily,
Good.
luckily there's no like the coins are kind of useless, but I'm glad it's not a ridiculous grind like the haste gear was. Like having to get like
Are you happy you have
3,500
haste gear going into the zone? You're like,
oh hell yeah,
yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
I've got it on caster and on healer.
I didn't have it. I actually bought
haste gear with
gloves.
chain
The only
spell's
thing
got to
I
be a
got
good dream. Like,
Oh yeah,
Get a-
definitely.
Watcher black mage with all the haste gear. You're just running around instacast 1.5 second fire fours.
I feel like Square Enix teased me a little bit because they allowed me to get down to a 2.05 on Warrior, which is almost enough to get a 6th spell cleave. So I was really looking forward to more haste gear and Zadnor. I'll just never get that other spell cleave.
Well, I invest more into making gear and everything else. At this point, you're done, right? I don't know. Eureka's still
they
going.
Just didn't put effects on it.
Rin, there is one way you could do it.
Yeah, if I get Essence of
Banner
the
of
Victor
Bone
from
to-
an NPC.
No,
Could you imagine
Banner of
prepping for a
Bone
duel
to
and
Good?
getting Essence of the Victor in the duel and then zoning in and just Essence of the Victor in your opener?
Okay, maybe
That
I'm
would be
wrong about
really
this.
cool.
That's
I've
going
never used it before.
even further beyond.
Never used what?
The Banner of Honed Acuity. Does that not reduce
What
your
is that?
GCD? Increases critical hit rate by 30%, reduces weapon skill cast time and recast time, spell cast time and recast time, and auto attack delay by 20%.
Yeah,
Does it
that's
give
the
you
one-
anything else
proc it,
though?
That's when you need to
The-
dodge for, right?
Oh, four
Yes,
dodges though. That's
yeah,
unlikely. You're not
yeah, I know,
reliably
but
going to do that.
technically you could. That's what I'm saying.
No.
No,
I
you
want a
can-
reliable way to do this.
You
Yeah.
can get up
Okay.
to 55% dodge.
I mean,
with
it lasts 120 seconds, so you have
Yeah, but it's
120
not worth it
seconds
at this
to proc
point.
it. No, it's not, because then you don't get to use your.
You know
noble
what?
end
You know
stat
what?
or auto attack
I'll be
bonus.
like Svi, and I'll just proc it off the Magitech bits in Mananius, and then I'll die.
Yeah.
But you
Just
can
wait
get up to
till the
55%
job
dodge
action
for
trailer. Like the job action trailer, you'll see the 6 spell cleave, and you're like, oh, that's.
When I saw
them.
5
Yeah.
a while ago,
Hmm. What were you saying, Balana? Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that for the acuity, you can get up to 55% dodge from Watcher, and then the new action Impetus, if you're in Breathtaker, gives
Yep.
a buff to your entire party that's 15% more dodge. So it's actually close to 60, I think, once you add it all together. And
yeah, Impetus was how I dodged that left wave. Because I was using Breathtaker plus Impetus.
Man,
so if you're trying to qualify for duels, it's probably a good combo. So you just get hit by something, and then just whiffs you instead.
Yeah,
That's true.
I don't know why, but I keep thinking you guys like you say impetus, and I'm like, I can't get it out of my head that you're about to say like impotent or something like that. I don't know why, but it's just like it's
Impetus.
yeah, impetus.
There we go.
Or impede. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just such a weird word to me for some reason. Fucking English majors, dude.
What's even funnier is it's a mechanic in one of the duels, but it does not do that. It gives you misdirection.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, not misdirection. It gives you the force march. The force march. Half the
yeah.
time. Half the time it gives it to you. Half the time it just falls off and does nothing.
Do we know why that happens yet?
Originally, I thought that you dodge it, but people without any dodge at all have just had it expire.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
So content's done, man. Baj is over with. This is the last. Are you happy with what they did with this? Is this like a good Eureka, I guess? Like a good change from going from Eureka to Baja here now that it's all finalized? Or would you rather have Eureka over this?
I feel like they played it too safe with Zadnor. I feel like they just wanted to like kind of get it out, so they just kind of copied and pasted everything that they had in the Southern Front and just brought it over. Where with Eureka, we had a lot of iteration, we had a lot of change, we had a lot of new developments between each time the new Eureka came out. So it would have been nice to see them, kind of branch out and try something different. But I mean, it's if you like the Southern Front, you like this too.
Okay.
I would definitely add in a future patch the ability to buy some of these new fragments with clusters, because you can't.
That would be nice, yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be the broken ones. Like you can't even buy the Hearth one, right? You can only buy re-raise. So at least a couple of them would be nice to have. They don't have to give you everything, but I was very surprised to see that, like, nothing was included.
Okay.
And since you have to basically run like Castro Del Riata, right? If you future proof it and nobody's queuing for those, which means it doesn't pop, you're not going to really have a way to get them, which means you're not really going to have a way to do the duels the way that we are able to do them now, unless people continue to run it en masse. So that's my only. I would add that in, but otherwise, I think the content's pretty fine. It was played too safe. It's pretty easy. It's done very quickly, which right now seems boring, but it's probably a good thing for new players later who are like, I don't want to put in like a 100-hour grind, and they won't have to.
Yeah,
They're already going to go through a Realm Reborn.
it's true. Do you think they should have had the Savage at the end of this instead of at the end of the other zone?
I don't think so, based on the release time. I think it was
this
nice.
is kind of a
to have the
catch-up for
when we
Savage.
got it. Yeah. I mean, I think we needed something when Savage came out, so it was fun content to have when we got it. I think if they waited until now, it would have been a very boring time period for those of us looking for challenging content.
So many people would have stopped playing then,
Yeah.
and then they wouldn't be here now.
Yeah,
Well,
they
we
did their The typical thing where they release the hard content and then they release the catch-up patch after. Like, they do the 8-man Savage and then they do the 24, which the gear isn't as good, but it'll get you in there. So they kind of did a similar script for this this Baja stuff.
Okay.
And we get season 20 of the Feast coming later, so there's content for the rest of the expansion.
Is that gonna be like a 6-month season? Like,
a preseason is for what, an undetermined. We can assume it's going to be when they give Echo and unlock.
The information is so,
but they never tell us.
Poor. It is so poor, and this is straightforward Square Enix. This was not the best patch, or not best expansion for PvP at all, and they know that.
I mean, I only just started PvPing, but I mean, I think all of us know that it's never talked about. It's talked about less than crafting and gathering.
I do appreciate, and I love how we're talking about Baja and we go into PvP here towards the end of the show. I do appreciate during the FanFest, during the keynote, he was like, "Hey, more PvP stuff's coming, but we'll tell you about that later." He at least acknowledged it in some way that it exists in the game. It's something that is going to be a feature. But maybe all the last expansion burned them out on everything that they went through with that. So I am looking forward to, because I mean, what else is there to do between now and then besides just level up jobs?
Helping people clear for the first time, ultimate solo Palace of the Dead if you want to get the Necromancer title for Reaper.
That's what I'm looking at.
Isn't it like a bunch of levs to get like the Reaper title or something? I think there's a Reaper title.
Fieldcraft leaves or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, grinding out in Baja is actually going to be good for leveling up Reaper. If you get those, 10, 20 stacks, going in there, just go around blasting stuff on Reaper.
I guess that's a good point.
30% increased damage, 50% increased health. Some crazy lost action.
Lost Rampage is really good too. That was something I didn't really talk about earlier. So there's an AoE 300 potency attack that will also give 10% trick attack to anything that has an aversion to physical damage. But it's stronger than Decimate, so if you're on Warrior in IR, you just use that if you're AoEing things, because it's going to do more damage. But there's some really fun abilities, and it's going to make being able to grind by yourself fun when you're leveling things up later. Plus, there's probably going to be a lot of people at the beginning for Sage and Reaper.
Hey, now that you're saying that, I'm just imagining, as soon as the expansion hits, you're going to see just nothing but Sage and Reapers running all over the map of Baja, just eating and devouring stuff.
I expected.
Yeah, I was not thinking about that. I thought people would just, Sage, 2 Reapers, and whatever tank got looped into having to help them level up, doing dungeon back-to-back over and over and over again.
I mean, you do your roulettes to 71, and then you just go on Baja till 80.
Yep.
It's pretty fast. I leveled my Warrior and Dark Knight both in there. And it was 6 hours each or so.
Yeah.
Yep.
The latest one?
I mean, you will also be able to just go into
Castamabania in Southern Front.
Like Castamabania with the 30% buff.
271.
Yeah, to 71. That's what I mean, I do it to 73 because you don't get your AoE ability until 72 on most jobs, right? So Castamabania, you're best in slot, you're overpowered, and you're burning through it. And the old earrings gave you the extra experience, although now the Memphina's earrings are just going to be like the same thing up to 80. But doing that to 71 and going into boss is probably going to do the play.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we're here at the end, guys. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about with Baja here? I didn't think. I was like, you guys were like, hey, it's going to be a short show. I'm like, yeah, sure. We're at 2 hours, so perfectly normal size.
Get all your field notes.
Field notes. Okay.
Get all your field notes.
One more.
Yeah, you get a mount.
Okay. Mount? I thought I would hate that mount, but it's actually pretty cool.
It's the motorcycle mount you're talking about?
Yeah.
And you do not have to do the duels to get the field notes. They're very rare from some other places, but you can get them.
Flare Star that shit. Melt that guy.
Yeah.
Cheese it up. Devalue this title.
I mean, yeah, it does make it accessible. It's definitely easier to just follow a sequence of button presses than flawless execution for 8 or 9 minutes, I would say. So it does.
I mean, you could just
up that. So you're saying speed killing Savage is easier than doing
It's
the
true.
whole fight.
Yes,
because
yeah,
a
exactly,
sequence of
yeah.
buttons in a shorter duration.
Absolutely, that was like the
Yeah.
biggest thing, right? Killing fights faster just means you do less mechanics, right?
Skip Black Smoke.
How many people knew how to do all of the Void of Repentance at the end of Alexander after week 1?
Me, I enraged that
Oh,
fight
I
multiple
just-
times.
I just pugged it. I was only pugging back then, so I saw it all the time.
Yeah.
I actually really like that mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came back in Black Smokers.
Kind of.
Well, anything else? No, I think we kind of covered. I'm assuming because
Yeah.
I haven't been through all the content myself, but I'm assuming we've hit everything pretty well. Nothing else is new or shiny with Zadnor.
No, it'll make Delubrum Regine Savage easier if people want to farm and do that eventually. If they haven't yet, go get your stacks of Valor, etc. And
I mean,
you'll probably have a
technically,
little bit of an easier time.
I need to do that, and I need to do all the ultimates and everything else, because I feel like at some point, I need to do it. With my role and everything else, not doing this content makes me feel a little bit bad. But
It's not so bad. It'll go by pretty quickly.
yeah.
I
But
would
alright.
like to see a speed run. I would
Say that
like
one
to
more
see a speed run of Delubrum Regine Savage. I think that'd be
Oh, it'd probably
interesting
get
to watch.
crushed. I want to do it. wanna
There's
do it.
tech. There's tech I want to work on for that. So you know how you can do that stuff to duels?
Yeah, I want to do that stuff to the
Yeah.
bosses.
Yeah. You have somebody sit at the front next to the box. It might not work in Savage, but you know how you get like sucked into the instance when they pull the boss?
Yeah.
You get,
No,
like,
not in
teleported behind the
Savage.
wall or
You'll
whatever?
get locked out if you're
Oh,
not
really?
in there. Yeah,
I
we
thought it
had
pulls
somebody
you in.
stand next to the box, and then when they tried to come in after, they couldn't get there.
Yeah, I think the teleporters like shut off. So it probably won't work in Savage, but normal, they do have the hey, you're about to be pulled into the instance in 30 seconds, and that's just the same as the timers getting into the duel. So you
People,
can load
people
up.
are doing 10-minute runs of Delubrum.
Oh god. I feel like you could just like delete the queen if you get like pulled in with a big stack and just do like the,
Oh my
the
gosh.
500,000 flare star ticks on her.
Well, now you guys have
Yeah, with the
something to
1v1
do.
buff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a lot of fun hearing about this. I'm looking forward to getting into it and actually going through and doing everything. And I appreciate you guys coming on and educating me and filling in the gaps that I had. I've just had people's reactions to really go off on for most of it. And it's kind of sad this is the last content really before the expansion, but it's kind of exciting too because now we don't have to think about anything. We can just say only think about Endwalker now and just do whatever else we want to do in the game while we're waiting. Play the Burning Crusade, I guess.
Take a break. Go play this at Burning Crusade. Solo, what we're going to have PSO2s launching NGS, right? It's a couple of things to do with the rest of the year.
And
And then when
6 months
Endwalker
of,
releases, it's going to be the new Pokemon games on the same exact day.
Oh, is it?
So, yep, no, on pre-release day. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I'm playing Endwalker, Pokemon. You know, the last one.
of course. Oh, of course.
Yeah, like I wasn't that impressed. I'm not that impressed with Pokemon anymore, man.
Yeah,
They
I
could do
didn't
better.
get past like the third gym on the new
Well,
one.
it's just a remake of Diamond and Pearl.
Is it?
So,
Oh.
but there are
Well-
people. There have been people contemplating which one they're going to play first. I'm like, an old game again? Who would do that? Burning Crusade.
Yeah, who would want to play a game from like 15, 20 years ago? I mean, it's got to be so stale by now. Like everything's figured out. And
So
I prefer my games.
your games? What?
Final Fantasy 7 years old.
Final Fantasy 7?
Oh, Final Fantasy VII
No,
is getting
no,
a second
this
section
one,
if you have a
this
PS5.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What I was gonna say is that I'm gonna ask you guys your advice. I got 6 months of MogTalk to go through. So, what kind of topics we need to talk about for the next 6 months, huh?
Good ones.
PvP?
PvP.
you could do another round of the role shows.
I will.
Just do
I
like
will.
do a retrospective on
PvP is
on
not a
this
bad
expansion.
idea if you could talk about getting people into preseason where they can no pressure practice and learn how to do Feast.
People
But I
are
don't think it's gonna happen.
so like it's repellent right? PvP, just the topic of repellent. People just, you say it and they don't want to do it more. It's just...
Dude, because people just want to walk in and get armor.
I mean, maybe that's it. They want to just walk in and flare star their way through all their stuff, you know? But no, I don't think that... we'll see when we get more information on that. I mean, we still need to talk about Blue Mage.
The Chocobo race.
Chocobo racing, yeah. Maybe
Actually,
that'll be
Blue
worth
Mage
talking
is
about.
Probably a good achievement for the rest of people to do with the rest of the expansion, right? Like, not... I'm willing to
still
bet there
have
are
the
people who
latest
still haven't
patch
done the
too,
Marble.
actually.
Yeah.
I've done the mobile. I haven't done the latest release. You just reminded me that that's something I intended to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get a group together for that because there's just title rewards. There's no mount this time.
The drive is low,
Yeah, which is a
although there's
shame.
nothing left to do.
Yeah.
We could do a... Cleese has a good idea. We could do a Mahjong episode where I'll just sit around and play Dome and Mahjong.
Yeah, we could do that. I think it's definitely... I'm waiting on a little bit more information about the roles before we start diving into them and like some of the job changes. And the next live letter will give us some more information. There's lots of speculation that we can do. Talking about, Zheph's right. We could talk about retrospective on the raids and how we can expect it going forward, mechanic wise. Lore conspiracy, we do that all the time.
What about like a static show on people looking to get into hardcore prog, or like how to get statics going? And like, there's a lot of behind the scenes things people don't see, and sometimes you'll see like, you'll be like, wow, that group gets along so well, and you don't see that there's like actually stuff that happens with like, how do you get this person wants to do speed runs, this person wants to run more, this person wants to run less, and how are you getting all 8 players to do a common goal, and you know how to lead and bring things up, because a lot of people don't like to take responsibility or bring their grievances up. So maybe topics on just etiquette.
Yeah, it seems like the topics are going to be a little bit more. I don't know.
They're definitely going to be more meta because there's not
more
going to be
meta.
like content to talk about directly, but the content surrounding the content's going to be plenty of content.
Yeah, it's true. So we are gonna be keeping MogTalk up for a while. My job seems, from my conversation so far, to be able to permit me to do that. I don't think that I'm gonna have to close off my weekends as often as I thought. So I think I'm gonna be able to be in a better situation to keep doing it. That being said, I do want everybody to know, next 2 weeks, no MogTalk. We're taking a short break, and everybody will know why at some point, but taking a short break. And then we'll be back after that. I guess I could let everybody know. I have a little exit video that will say all this stuff again, but I'm going to tell you guys now anyways. Chocobo Race again. We have a charity event for Extra Life, working in coordination with Butterfinger as well, on Thursday, where we're going to be basically getting a lot of content creators and everyone else just together to do, I think, probably the only Chocobo race that's ever existed in a tournament setting for Final Fantasy XIV. And the biggest thing is I just have to make sure everybody has it unlocked. That's going to be the biggest challenge. It's just making sure everybody has it unlocked on Aether. But we're going to be doing that midday Thursday. Just a quick little pop-up event and raise a little bit of money for Extra Life. So you guys should definitely check that out. I won't be here, of course, the Saturday following or the Saturday after that, but we will be doing that. So look forward to it. And all of you guys, I want you to say your closing bits here and say who where people can find you if they want to find you, any shout-outs you want to do, and we'll start with Balana, if you don't mind.
Oh, hey, hi. I'm usually last on this thing. I wasn't ready.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at Balana Rahl. I apparently stream Final Fantasy sometimes, but I'm a little bit more active on Twitter. My DMs are open. Slide on in. Shout out to all the boys, all the Baja boys going in there and cracking at it and cracking jokes, having a good time, making the grind a good time. And thanks Frosty for having me on as always. And just looking forward to the next expansion. Probably not going to be playing a lot of 14 for the next few months.
It's okay. Do what you got to do. Get some enjoyment out of whatever before you get in. I'm really excited for Endwalker, but this is a good time to get a lot of non-Endwalker stuff in before becoming completely obsessed with that game. So
yeah, my guild had 50 people sign up for Burning Crusades. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Damn, nice. Good luck on. Well, are they going to release? Was it Kazadon or what was it? Karazhan, yeah. They will release that immediately.
Yeah, they're staggering the raids. Originally, when Burning Crusade first came out, there was like 2 different raid tiers of like 6 different raids, all available right away. But it was just such a pain to unlock them that nobody ever really did the second tier until the third one came out. But they're doing it kind of like staggered like that, so it'll be fun. Just like blast through, do Karazhan, and just phase 1 of BC will be really really relaxed.
Okay. All right, and Ren. If you don't mind doing your shout outs, and you dude.
Oh crap. I wasn't ready either. Hi everybody, I'm Rin Karigani. I want to send shout outs first off to the people who were running Bolster with me all week, and made it really nice to get to hang with everybody and just kind of pick everybody up and help each other get into the duels. Second off, to everybody that's been raising money lately for charities in the Final Fantasy community. We had Phase Temperance. We had my team Drifter and many other people that were just trying to band together after FanFest, and we all just had a big movement of heart, and it was really nice to just see everybody selflessly helping one another and doing things for a good cause. So thank you to everybody that took part in that, and thank you to Square Enix for continuing to put out content through all the COVID drought, man. Seriously, I was really happy with these duels. This Lion duel. I began with Lion, I ended with Lion. I'm really happy, and the rest of the expansion we're going to be running like other games probably that are going to be coming out and kind of taking it easy on Final Fantasy now that everything's done and helping people clear content. You can find me on the shout out that Frosty just did, as well as my YouTube, which is different. And there.
Perfect. Thank you, Ren. All right, and Zeph.
Oh, I wasn't ready either.
What? God damn it. Oh. Guys, I will have to say on deck, so you gotta know you're next. Go ahead.
How could this have happened?
You can find me on my channel, Zeph Zayora. My Twitter is the same without the surname, just Zeph Z or Zeph Z, depending on where you're from. I do endeavor to try and put out some guide videos, I guess, on the 1v1s. I think that could be helpful. But yeah, I have Lion to do still, so I'm actually going to be chasing that all day today after this, once we're done here. Might not take too long, as long as I don't fail, because I've got 4 notoriety already prepped for that. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing. Probably doing the other challenge content the game has to offer, so Solo Deep Dungeon, Blue Mage, the latest ones. Before, like Rin, also moving on to other games that I would like to squeeze in before Final Fantasy consumes my life once more in the expansion. And I don't have time for anything else anymore.
I might be actually taking time off for I've never taken time off for an expansion, ever.
Endwalker's going to be so
Do
good.
it.
But I might actually do it. I've bought the collector's edition for this game. I've never done that either. It's the physical box, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this because everything looks pretty much what I want it out of it. Like I don't see any negatives right now. So I hope I can last the next 5-6 months. Hopefully they don't push it. I really hope they don't push. Well, you know what? I hope they maybe push it. I'd be okay with a week or 2 if they push it, because that means Savage lines up a lot better.
Yeah. The raid tier around Christmas potentially. I would definitely like to see.
If they're watching, you guys are watching. You push it forward 2 weeks. I don't think many raiders will be happy. They'll be fine. They'll be totally cool. If you push it till after holidays, we don't need it sooner. A little bit later.
But then my team name won't be great. I want to name my team "I'll Be Home for Christmas."
Yeah, but you could also play Pokemon.
You could say "I was home for Christmas." There you go. That would be.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. This has been a fun show. Thank you, Balana, Rin, Zeph, for coming on. I really appreciate all you guys coming on and helping me kind of get through the Zadnor discussion, which I was ill prepared for. And I look forward to seeing you guys all for the Chocobo racing event later in the week. And then after that, we'll be back with MogTalk. Of course, I'll probably think of the topic between now and I think it's going to be 3 weeks before the next episode. We're skipping the 2. So I got 3 weeks to figure out an episode. You guys all have a very wonderful rest of your weekend. Remember to be good, keep cool, stay frosty. Everybody say bye!
Bye.
Bye.
Oh. Oh. Hello. Thank you for, watching that episode there of MogTalk. It was a lot of fun with our guest. And I'm trying to find the camera. I'm sorry. The producer didn't really tell me which way to look, so I'm doing my best. This is the segment where I thank you all for watching, and of course, do a special thanks to all the Patreon supporters, which I have in this handy dandy shiny Shadowbringers book that I am going to start using for that. So let me go ahead and open this up. There's a few people from organizations. One is Nimic from Ock Morning, very great rating resource. Super Miu from Teamcraft, very great crafting website for working with other crafters. And then Uni from Phase Temperance, which is a great PvE organization. Then we also have our just wonderful supporters who don't have an organization. It's Dudas Antonio, D Fury, Daniel H, Megan C, Nami, and Dr. Dirk. All amazing people who help MogTalk happen. With that being said, these members also are going to get soon this wonderful, wonderful coffee cup here. It's very good. And also, they will be getting this t-shirt here, which will be coming to them at some point for being such a great MogTalk supporter. And at some point, they will also get not a guitar, but a sticker. A sticker that will go on a guitar. It's amazing. I love it. I think it is a lot better than I anticipated. And then, there's a couple other things. We have a sweatshirt that's on the way as well. And this is all just rewards for recurring Patreon supporters, which, again, help make this show happen. By all means, it is not completely necessary in any shape or form. I want to show my appreciation to them. On a separate note, I'm going to use this video also to let you guys know if you want to win a Chocobo Alpha plushie. We are doing a charity event on Thursday at noon Pacific time, where all donations enter you into a prize to win said plushie. And I think that's all of my announcements. Oh, one last thing. We are putting MogTalk on a pause for 2 weeks. More information is coming on that soon, but we will be back, of course, after those 2 weeks. Just it will be a short hiatus. You guys all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and until next time, stay frosty.